Okay, looks like we're live. So welcome guys, welcome. This is going to be a basically a live stream session on going through how to play Age of Wonders 4 for pretty much geared for new players, for people who either are having trouble getting into the game, have issues with the Age of Wonders series in itself, because it is a difficult series, or it is a difficult game to play, particularly with the combat, because the tactical combat can be quite tricky. And so what I want to do is, I was going to do a full series on this, and I may still do that, but I thought I'd actually just do a one-off video, basically just going through, I guess, how to approach the game if you are new to the series, or if you're struggling getting into the series, just to sort of try to ease people into actually how to play the game. We're not going to be doing anything too tricky. Like we won't go and build a faction. We still may go and analyze the faction that we choose, and just go through the different sorts of things that you can sort of look for when you do sort of start to play the game. I'm going to be going through initially. We're going to be playing a couple of different ways in this particular session. That's what I sort of want to do with this one. And so that's sort of the approach we're going to be taking. But definitely, if you do bounce in, I'm streaming this normally when I don't live stream, so I'm not sure how many people will end up watching this one live. But if you do actually have any questions as we go along, please ask away, because I certainly don't mind stopping and explaining things. So this will be really, really geared to explaining things with a new player in mind. So hopefully that's going to be helpful. Before I do get started with this one, I do want to thank my Patreon supporters and anybody else that supports the channel through merchandise like this wonderful t-shirt. And so anyway, let's just get into it. I'm just going to go to new game now. Age of Wonders. This is Age of Wonders is one of these series of games, and they started back in the late 1990s. So they've sort of been going for about 24, 25 years basically. So a long period of time. The actual series has been going, and just to give this a bit of context, it's mainly been geared or rooted in the fantasy genre, and then Planetfall came out prior to Age of Wonders 4, which then took it into sort of more of a sci-fi setting. But the developers have actually sort of explained that Planetfall was actually a test bed for a lot of the innovations that came into Age of Wonders 4, so which I found really quite interesting. Now, in terms of getting your head into the actual game itself, I think we'll start off by just going through how to, the way I would sort of, if I was going to be playing the game as a completely new player to the series, how I would approach that, and then also after that, then basically maybe going through a bit of the history of the series itself, because Age of Wonders 4 actually really does go back to all the other versions of Age of Wonders and actually takes things from all of them. So if you like, for example, Age of Wonders 2, you're going to love Age of Wonders 4. I know that there was a lot of people who didn't particularly like Age of Wonders 3, even though it was many years after Age of Wonders 2 came out. But this game is probably closer to 2 than 3 in a lot of ways. Anyway, let's just go to new game. So when you're playing your very first game of Age of Wonders, I would strongly suggest don't get too tricky with trying to create factions or anything like this. So for your first game, what I would suggest you do is just go to the beginner scenario, and we'll play this a little bit just so you get a bit of a feel for it. So start with the Fields of Rebirth, the Initiation Realm. And so this is just going to tell you the returning Wizard Kings first preyed on small, bountiful and harmonic realms to hone their skills. Will you be a protector or invader on this beautiful domain? And so it's got one aspect about it. And if anything with Age of Wonders, there's lots and lots of tooltips everywhere. So by all means, make good use of those. And so you can see through here with Harmonious Lands as an option for this realm. So the realm is more peaceful, but still not without danger. And so high tier Ancient Wonders are absent, and high tier Infestation Spawners are absent. And so what this essentially means is that you're going to be playing on a lowish level and much more easy to interact with. So the world is going to be a little bit easier, not dramatically so, but just a little bit. And so that's sort of where we are with Harmonious Lands. So we're going to choose that one through there, and then choose Select. And for this one, through this side, the actual realm traits, so you can see that through there it's still got Harmonious Lands back in through there. You then have to choose your difficulty. Now, for this particular scenario, you've only got from easy, normal, or hard. I would strongly suggest, if you are sort of trying to get into the game, play on easy initially, and then just click on Next. Now you go to creating your faction. Rather than going through the nuance of actually creating a faction, just go and choose Alfred Elderstone, who is probably going to be at the very, very top of the list of units that you actually then have. By all means, have a look through the others. Now, mine will be a little bit different because I've unlocked certain other, in my library of factions. I've actually unlocked a few others, so it'll be a little bit different. But Alfred Elderstone, I think if you're starting the game, will actually be at the very, very top. And so that one should be the first one that you actually end up having. And again, by all means, just have a look through and sort of just click on them, scroll across, just see what the tomes are that they've actually got selected, and we'll explain what these are when we get into the game. The race, look, and you can just keep on hovering over different things to sort of see what everything actually sort of does mean. And I would strongly suggest that you do that to a certain extent. Not read everything, but just have a read through. So there's so many different sorts of play styles, etc., etc. Again, I'm not going to get too tricky with this one as to what to look for with these particular groups, but one thing you can actually have a look for is when you do come across, if we go to Destined Humans in through the side and go to and hover over this one and go and click on this one through this side, you'll see under Culture, it's got like Feudal. And that represents what we actually have back in through here with the actual units behind Alfred. The first elves, for example, if we hover over this one through this side, these are high culture. And so these have got like a different sort of set of units in behind. And this actually is an important part of learning the game, but it's not critically important. So in this sort of instance, it does change the flavour of the way that you play. But I think that Alfred Elderstone with the feudal technology is just a nice balanced way of actually playing the game, just to get used to it. So we'll just go and select the faction. And what those cultural things do is actually dictate what sort of units you end up being able to recruit. And so they're consistent across all the different sorts of factions. Okay, now the first realm that you end up generating through here, this is actually a random map, but with simple aspects about it. And so it's going to be very, very simple to play. And the thing I would suggest that you aim for with this first one is maybe not even to finish the actual map itself, but just play enough of it to get an idea of the user interface, what the different things do. Like, for example, if you try to have a feel for what tomes are, how tomes interact with the, with your strategy, that would be a good objective for your first game. Having a few combats just to get used to how combat works in the game in a very, very basic sort of sense, that would be useful as well. But again, another thing I would do is when you have these sorts of things come up, read them and actually try to just try to get a feel for the user interface. And so what we can see through here, we've got Alfred up the top through here. We've then got a range of different sorts of icons that appear over through this side. And these are your affinities. And so you can see we've got 4 of the order affinity. And so order affinity is the power that brings structure to the cosmos and to the lives of mortals, associated with light, faith, justice, and the government of empires. Then we've got 1 nature affinity. So nature affinity governs the energies of life, promoting growth and revitalization. It is associated with farming, druidism, and control of the living world. And so it just gives you a bit of a feel for what each of these affinities actually are. And then we've got materium, so 1 empire materium affinity. So the materium affinity relates to physical magic. It is associated with resource extraction, transmutation, and mastery over the mundane physical world. And so there's 6 different affinities in the actual game. So the opposite of order is chaos. The opposite of nature is shadow, I think, or is it, actually I can't remember what the opposite of that one is. It may be materium. You can actually have opposites. It's not really a problem. You've also then, actually, I think it is materium is the opposite of nature. And then you've also then got shadow and arcane as well. So you've got like 6 different affinities. These are dictated by your choices down below through here. So the 4 that we end up through here will come from our choices. Again, if you're trying to get into the game, don't bother min-maxing these at all. Just go with the flow. That's why I'm suggesting just pick Alfred and then just go with it, but then start to hover over different things. So we start off with the Tome of Faith. And so when we hover over this one through here, this tome is about healing and support your units through the power of the faithful. And again, if you're trying to, when you see something underlined like that, faithful is unit upkeep is reduced by 10%. So the units for like faith-based units are going to be 10% less, which actually can be quite impactful in the game. And so that's actually one of the things that the Tome of Faith actually does bring back through. We've got the Destined Humans, which is the name of the actual group that we happen to be in control of. So they started off with a human body. Now, there's the bodies themselves don't have much bearing in the game, but the game itself will try to then sort of make them make sense. And so, for example, the humans, by like natively, have fast recuperation, which is the I think this is the mind trait or body trait. Actually, this is the body trait, I think. So armies can fight longer in the world, and so they regenerate an additional 5 health in between battles, and five hit points per world map turn. So basically, and that actually again can mean that they can actually operate a little bit further away from home, and they're adaptable as well, and so they actually get plus 30% experience. So that's the humans in this case. But you can have humans with a different set if you rebuild them yourself. But this is what we end up getting. In terms of the of what we chose for our cultural aspects, which is what we looked at before, we have feudal, and so structures with and feudal provides structures with food income. So feudal is very much like almost like a farming society type thing, and units benefit from close formations with stand together. So they do like to sort of bunch together, stand together. So units deal 20% more damage when adjacent to another friendly unit with stand together. So if you have two with the same ability of stand together, they will then do more damage when they actually attack. So keep that in mind as well when we're sort of choosing to go into the actual fights. And also feudal lords in through this side. So the feudal culture can grant 5 hero special feudal lord titles. So these are unique to a feudal start. And so you've got like the Lord of War, Lord of Crops, Lord of Knowledge, Lord of Magic, Lord of Production. So as we get our heroes, we can then sort of allocate those. Again, don't overthink it when you're sort of just starting with the game. It won't really matter that much. So there we go. Hi, William. How are you going? And William's saying the opposite: nature, shadow, and materium and mystic. There we are. Okay, there we go. So it is nature and shadow, and then materium and arcane in through, or mystic in through that side there. So I had that one wrong. Now we've got the chosen uniters. You can sort of see down through here. What this one does is these strive to be. They tend to be sort of more on the good side. So we gain plus 20% income from vassals. We have plus 10 alignment, a good alignment. That's what that little sort of symbol means in through there. And shield units and polearm units have 1 extra rank when they come into the game. So they're going to be a little bit stronger for the shield units and polearm units. We'll go through the different types of units. There's maybe 6 or 7 different types, I guess, in the game. And so they're the basic types that we end up having, but they have other ones that have different abilities as well. And we start with an extra shield unit or polearm unit there as well. And we have a diplomatic focus in through this side as well. So we end up with what's called a Whispering Stone. And I'll explain what that is when we get into the actual game. But these are like the Palantirs. If you sort of watched Lord of the Rings or read Lord of the Rings, the Palantirs were stones that you could, this is how Saruman and Sauron were able to communicate with each other. You sort of leave these things with independent cities so that you can actually then influence what they do. So it's sort of, they're for good or for evil type thing. So that's the diplomatic focus that we actually have in through there. So that's the chosen uniters. And then we have great builders. And so these are chosen if you are building your own faction. And so the great builders in through this side, they form a society of builders and makers who pride in the things they construct. And so in this case, quarries yield plus 2 gold, special province improvements, and so special province improvements cost minus 50% less. They cost 50% less production. Now we'll talk about province improvements when we sort of get into the game. These are things that, again, I probably wouldn't focus on too much for your first 1 or 2 games, but we'll still talk about them. Starting bonuses is Capital City starts with the workshop and with stone walls. And so you can see there the workshop gives us draft and production income, and then the stone walls give us plus 40 fortification health. So we're actually got a stronger city, and we can see the stone wall around the city in through here as well. So that's sort of then modelled to sort of show that it's a strong city. And that's pretty much just the overview of our faction. So we'll just go and let that one go. Now what we do is there's a number of different spells available depending on the tome that we choose. And we end up with 2 random ones from that one. So we've got Army Heal, which allows us to heal 20 hit points to all the different units in an actual army. Not during battle, this is outside of battle. Or Call to Glory, and this is a buff spell. So for any units in a 1 hex radius, gain 5 morale and become strengthened. This is a combat spell, so we've got a combat spell in through there. So we'll just click on OK with that one, and then we sort of start the actual game itself. Now for this first game, all I'd strongly suggest that you do is just play enough so that you get a couple of battles under your belt, and maybe sort of try to meet up with another like an independent city. Don't do too much in this first one, because one of the confusing things about playing this first scenario is it doesn't actually introduce the concepts of the actual game all that well, but it does provide, at least you can then have a bit of a look at the user interface. So Aries is saying, hey Daz, what do you think so far? Now, does this beat Planetfall? Yeah, I think so. I don't think so. For me, it definitely does. So I love the fantasy versions of the game anyway, so I'm sort of a bit biased in that sense. I was disappointed when Planetfall was announced because I thought we were going to end up with Age of Wonders 4 at that stage, but I'm actually glad with what we've ended up getting. All right, so the first thing I would do is zoom right out. You're getting up with what's called, typically called the cloth map, and you can see the extent of the world this way. You don't really get a good feel for it even on the mini map. Like when we sort of zoom back in, we're only seeing a small portion of the mini map. But when you go right out through here, you can sort of see that we're in this bottom corner, and this can be quite important. It will also then highlight the roads for you as well, and these are also important because they tend to lead to important locations, and so you do want to go along the roads to try to find as quickly as you possibly can that first city. And so in this case, when we look at Florin, you can see there's a road that goes through the forest in through this side. There's another road that goes out through this side with a small group there that's going to be needing to be dislodged, and so we've got a road through there. Also in the fog, you can actually sort of start to make out different features around the place. Some of them, like there'll be something sort of special there with some sort of statue. When you see these little tower type things, that's actually an area that can then sort of, that's a watchtower, so you can sort of just walk into those. Just see if there's any down this way. That's a special location there, special location, watchtower back over there. This is the edge of the map over this side. So you can get a bit of a feel just in the fog. There's another watchtower down this side as well. So there's a few different special locations. Not that it matters that much, but I always just like to have a bit of a look around. We're also going to find different things on the actual map as well, like these in through this side. Now this mana stash, oops, hang on. We just hover over that one. So this is a mana stash, a collection of mana crystals ripe for the taking. Move your army onto it and we'll instantly grant you some mana. Back over through here, we've got ourselves a gold stash. So we end up with areas on the map that we can then sort of walk across into, and they tend to have that little sort of sparkle about it. This in through this side is actually a production stash. So we do want to grab these. Now this one is along the road. Sometimes these will be protected by hidden units. Now don't worry if you right click to move an army down and there's a unit there that you didn't see there before, it won't just start the attack. So we'll just move this one down into this location to start with. It's along the road. There we go, exactly that. So we've actually now come across it. There's a group protecting this particular stack. And when you have a look at the actual the banners, this is also important. This is the same for any Age of Wonders game, is that you've got, like you can see there, the banners that we've got. Now what these actually refer to is it's got the symbol for Alfred, like Alfred's realm, and number 1 is just showing how many units there are actually in the stack. So we've got 1 unit in this particular stack. When you see a little symbol like with the banner where it's just got like a cross like this, it means there's no one special in the actual location. When we come across to Alfred himself and have a look at him, you'll see he's got 6 units in the stack. He's then got like a special gold wings, which means that the actual leader of the faction is actually in control of that particular stack. If that was a silver sort of wings up through there, it would mean that we've got another hero in charge, but not the leader. So they're the only different types of cross beams that you sort of have for the different armies, but that can be quite useful when you're going up against enemies, just to sort of gauge which ones have got heroes and which ones don't. Hi Sketic, how are you going? And hi to anybody else that's joined us as well. So the banners are very, very important. And I noticed that when I'm playing the game and I've got people who don't play much Age of Wonders, they get worried about, is this thing going to march across and attack me? Or, what's going to happen with these guys? Like, we've just uncovered this particular group. How do we deal with that? Before it wanders off. The fact that it's got like a dark grey banner with white on top of it. So there's 2 units in it. The skull is just showing that it's basically an environmental group, like a marauder group, is I think what the game actually does call them. And so in this case, this is a small group sitting on this particular location that is stopping us from getting forward. When it's white, it means it's a guard. It's not going to move off. So that one's never going to move off from that location. They can get stronger over time if you don't deal with them. You've got a lot of time to deal with them, but they will get stronger over time. And this one as well is white, so that's not going to wander off. This is just going to stay where that actually is. So by all means, as you come across them, just be aware of that. If the colour of the skull is red, then it means that it's either a spawner, so it's going to actually spawn new units from that location, or it's a wandering attacking stack, which is like an enemy stack, and they are the ones that you have to be careful of. They're dangerous because they will come after your units, but not the white ones. So the white ones never move off. They always stay there as a guard. That's just one little thing that I know that new players do struggle a little bit with that one. We're going to bypass this one, and again, if we wanted to sort of see what I've got through here, I've got a single unit on a horse. Now, this one, if I just go and if I right click on this one through here, it brings up the unit. I can just use the left button to sort of rotate it around. And I'd strongly suggest, if you are new to the game, just to go through and actually have a good look at all of the things again in through here. So we can see this is a scout unit. So though weak in battle, these swift units are useful for exploring the world, and scout units have fast sight. So what's fast sight? Fast sight gives the unit +1 vision range. So again, just the tooltips are quite handy in this sort of instance. Destined Humans, that's who we're playing as. We saw that before. The Keeper is Alfred Elderstone. By the way, the Keeper is the ruler in charge of that particular faction. You can become Keeper of more than just one realm, depending on how things go in the actual game itself. So the more of an empire that you control, the more you can then become the Keeper. When you're the Keeper, you can then actually designate what's going to happen with that particular race. And so you can sort of mould the race over the course of the game, which is pretty cool, with the different things you can then go and do. But anyway, the Keeper of the Destined Humans is Alfred. And again, we can look at Alfred in through there. Same affinities we just looked at there before. And again, we've got the same traits we had a look at that there before with the Destined Humans. We then actually have things like Tier 1. Now, Tier 1 is the rank you can see is just a recruit. It's costing us 6 upkeep per turn. This is what this next line actually shows us. And so what this one does is, with the Tier 1 relates to what the level sort of is. Hi, Mike, and hi, Comrade. And so with the Tier 1 units, they're the cheapest of your units. Doesn't mean they're the weakest of the units necessarily, but they're the cheapest. They're often the most useful in the early mid-game, and they can be useful all the way through the game, depending on how you buff them over the course of the game. But in this case, the Tier 1 is essentially telling us that it's a very much a low-level unit. And generally the Scout units, you'll always be a Tier 1 Scout unit for every single type of culture that you're playing. Next, we actually have the various. This is the rank. So the recruit is the most basic rank. You don't get any benefit for that one. We need to just get 4 XP to then go to the next rank up, which is Soldier. And if I just hover over this one through here, Soldier will give me an extra 4 hit points. Veteran will give me another 4 on top of that one. Elite, another 4, plus an Elite medal of Evasion. So we're going to have a little bit better evasion in combat. Champion, another +4, and then Legendary mode, if we get up to this point, will give me another +4, plus we have a Legendary medal of Sprinting, which will then sort of just give me another ability. So we'll essentially have Evasion and Sprint come into this particular unit if we get it leveled all the way up, which I tend not to worry too much about the Scouts, to be honest. They're quite weak. So then we actually have the hit points back and through this side, showing us what we've got out of our maximum. This is the defense, which we'll talk about this when we get into combat. The resistance, which we'll talk about again when we get into combat. This is the movement. Now we have a total movement with this one because it's mounted of 40 on the world map, and we've got 28 left over in this particular turn. And neutral is just so that it's how content it actually is when it does go into battle. In this case, it's really on 0, which is sort of, for most units, that's where they're going to be ultimately be, is just on neutral. Then the different abilities, it's got like different abilities in through here. It's a cavalry unit, so this is mounted on an animal. It's got land movement, so this unit can move across land hexes. It's got a road walk, so moving across over roads costs fewer movement points. And then the scout unit, though weak in battle, these swift units are useful for exploring the world because they have far sight. So we saw that there with the scout unit up through the top there. So that's actually the basic parameters for the particular unit that we actually have. It then has a bow that it can then shoot. I'll talk about this when we get into combat, but this is like each shot of the bow does 6 damage, and I'll talk about how these actually work when we get into combat, when there's a bit more nuance about what we need to look at there. Defense mode in through this side is just what it currently actually can do. Like this can actually give itself extra defense and resistance by going into defense mode rather than attacking. It's got the fast sight, which we saw there before, fast recuperation because of it being part of that human group. Destined Humans, we did actually have, was it Chosen Uniters? No, it wasn't that one. Fast recuperation was the one that gave us that particular fast recuperation in through there. Low maintenance in through this side, so unit upkeep is reduced by negative 25%, and stand together as well. We saw that earlier. So that's it's worth having a good look through these just to get a bit of a feel for what each of your units actually does do. Hi Shabazz, how you going? So and comrades, actually Ares is saying scout only challenge, let your inner Mongol take control. That would be very, very hard. Scout units are not combat units basically. They've got other abilities, but we'll just let them go at this stage. So Comrade Amiga is saying, how do you upgrade units compared to Planetfall? Pretty much you just put them into battle. Like they get experience through battle, or they get experience by being with commanders who can give them experience every turn. And so for scout units, I tend to find that they don't level up much, but I do tend to focus a little bit on trying to get my heroes to be able to level up the units that are with them, so that the other units will actually go through the progression fairly quickly, particularly if you do a lot of combat. So combat is worth doing in the game because of the experience that you then do get, and the more you can level up your units, the more valuable they're going to be in the actual combat itself. We'll close that one off. And so this one here, if I then hover over this particular attack, you can see there that I have an attack rating for that scout unit of 21 against an attack rating of 100 for the group that's actually in there. And again, I can actually click on this as well. We've got two entwined thralls in through this side. And if we have a look and see what they've got, like if I right click on these, this is almost like a plant-based sort of entity. You can see there, this has got like a skirmisher unit. The sword and then the arrow going up, or the javelin going up, is sort of showing us that this is actually a skirmisher unit. And so these are really cool units because they can actually work well in both melee and in ranged attacks. And so this one actually has like a melee strike in through this side, where it does 12 damage, a poison needle, which does 16 damage for its actual ranged attack. And again, it's got slippery, so this unit does not trigger opportunity attacks, which we'll explain in combat, and it's swift as well. And so it's worth, this is why it's worth playing on this easy map, because you can very easily start to get a bit of a feel for what the different units do. One thing you'll notice with this one as well, it's got like a whole new range, which we didn't see in the previous one in through here. And these are the abilities that the actual unit does actually have. And so we can see through this side, for example, it's actually got a blight weakness. Now, if we have blight damage, and these are sort of like special types of damage. This is like blight is like poison. And so it's got poison weakness of 2. And so this one ends up, if we had a poison attack, we'd actually do better against this unit. It has shock resistance. It actually protects itself very well against lightning or electrical attacks. And it's got a fire weakness in through here of 4. And so it's actually very susceptible to fire because it's plant-based. And if we're sort of thinking, okay, well, how does it know that they're in there? Like, how does this all work? It'll be because of their abilities in through this side. Forest camouflage, forest walk, land movement, plant. There it is there. So it's a plant unit, and so plant units have the lightning resistance, the the negative blight resistance, and the fire and the negative fire weakness in through there as well. And so that's actually what's causing this little group of in through this side. But other things can actually impact that as well. So no unit mods. No, the unit mods are gone from the game. I hope they bring them back actually, because they were very, very cool. I actually prefer the Planetfall unit mods than the Age of Wonders 4 method of doing things. Hi Mobster, how you going? So anyway, that's sort of like this, and again, it's worth when you for your first couple of games, just get used to having a good look through all these different sorts of things to see what they all are. The actual classification at the top through here as a skirmisher, you'll see it on the side through there again as well. These are, there's 7 or 8 different classifications for different types of units in the game. And skirmisher is one of the basic ones. Scout is another one of the basic ones that we sort of saw there before. For feudal, I don't think we have a skirmisher unit that we actually have available to us. Well, we'll just close that one off. And so this is not worth attacking. We're going to lose this one very, very badly if we attack in through there. So let's just bypass, because really what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the next city. So we're just going to keep on going down and just see if this road will expose this one. So we'll just move that one down, and now we're seeing the edge of a border is actually what we were looking for. So there's something down this way. And if it's got like a grey border like this, it means it's an independent city. So this is we've sort of now found the border. So we were looking for that border, and you will find them. The roads will tend to lead there one way or another. So it looks like we're going to be sort of hitting the edge of that one next turn. It would be good to have found that one on the first turn, but we didn't. Now, if we have a look at the other group that's down through this side, we can see that there's actually a group in here, like the Serpent along with the Marauder Guards. It's got a rating of 130 at this point. There may still be hidden units in there as well. We just don't know. And we can see that through this one, if we go and right-click on these, this is a Storm Scale Serpent. It's a fighter unit, so it's actually its basic clarification or classification is that it's a fighter. Now, fighters are just basically simple melee. Their animals tend to be fighter units, or very, very, very simple creatures tend to be fighter units. The units without much intelligence, so they don't use weaponry all that much. They tend to just use claws or teeth or whatever else it might actually be. And so an outright melee unit with no obvious specialisation or counters. So they can still be tricky, but that's they're just a very, very basic type of melee unit. This is tier 2. Tier 2 units do cost more. So if we did actually have this one in our army, it would cost us 9 upkeep to keep this one around. This one's also just at recruit level. You can see there 70 hit points. This one's got 2 defense, and it will tell you why it's made up of 2. And so what it ends up having is it's got a you can see down the very bottom there these down through here. So it's a tier 2 unit which adds 1 to its basic defense, and it also has a base of +1 anyway. So that's basically giving us the 2. So if this was a tier 3 unit, it would actually have maybe 3 defenses. And similarly with the resistances, what we'll sort of see there is it gets an extra 1 in through there, or the one that is there is because it's tier 2. And we can then see this one is actually susceptible, it's got very good protection against shock damage, but it's actually weak against frost. So this one actually does take extra frost damage. If we hover over the resistance, we can then see how that actually then plays out. So that one resistance is, so for blight and fire and spirit, it's just got the extra resistance anyway. So 10% of any damage coming in will be taken off the actual final amount. For shock, 41% is taken off because of that extra protection. It's got like a total of 5 protection for shock, and it's got -1 protection for frost. So it does 10% extra if there's frost damage that comes in. So again, just be aware of what does go on with this. You can see there the special abilities. It's an animal unit, it's a fighter unit, and it's got just land movement. So that's basically what that actually is. That's not a dog, by the way. That's a shoe, just in case you're wondering what that actually is. And it's got melee strike. Now this one does. This is probably worth just talking a little bit about, because we'll do this fight first. This one has got 6 physical damage and 6 shock damage. So it does the lightning damage itself, because it is a storm scale serpent. And so it's and there's a chance every time it attacks that you're going to get electrified. So base 60% chance of inflicting electrified for 3 turns. Electrified then does 8 lightning damage each turn. So if you become electrified, you're then going to take a total of 24 hit point damage from the lightning damage, unless of course you've got other ways to protect against it. So that's sort of what that one does. It's elusive, so this unit is not stopped by the enemy zone of control. It can sort of go past the zone of control. Low maintenance, which is why it's only 9 and not 12, so otherwise it would cost more. And it's statically charged, so when the unit is hit by a melee attack, the attacker sustains 4 lightning damage as well. So if we attack it with melee, we're going to suffer a little bit. So that's actually something worth having a look at. The other unit that's in here is a tier 1 unit. If I just right click on this one through here, this is a lesser Storm Spirit. There's only tier 1, and this is a shock unit. This is another type of the basic units. So an offensive unit specialised in disrupting the enemy line. A shock unit has a charge attack, which counters shield units, but it can be countered by polearm units. So we're looking at like a rock, paper, scissors type arrangement there. So it's strong against shield, weak against polearm. Polearm is good against cavalry, monsters, and can stop the charge attack as well. They can get a first strike in against the charge. There is a heavy charge which can move beyond that as well. But anyway, that's sort of what this one does. It's got a charge strike again. It does lightning damage and physical damage. There's only one of them. It can only do 1 attack per its 3 actions. But we'll have a look at that again in combat. So that's what we're going to be fighting. Now I'm just going to move my whole stack. So I'm going to move Alfred down. Now Alfred, if we have a look at him, he has got like a lance, and so he's got like a lance in through here, which is a charge attack as well. So he's going to be very similar to what the that Storm Spirit does with the charge attack. And so and we'll look at that actually in the combat itself. And he's also got a horse as well, which gives him very fast movement. So that's actually his abilities in through there. We then have a level 2 unit back in through this side, which is a Bannerman. And a Bannerman is a support unit. And so the support unit is a defensive specialist that supports friendly units from afar and protects them from magical attacks. A support unit has defense mode of warding. So this one here has got like there's all sorts of different support types of units, but ours actually does spirit damage. And it's got a few other little abilities, but we'll have a look at that again when we get into the actual combat itself. This is a tier 2 unit, and the actual upkeep on this one is 12. So it's costing a fair bit of gold every turn. We then actually have 2 of these polearm units, which are just basic soldiers. This one is coming in at soldier rank, so it's not just recruit. This one's actually a soldier, and we saw that at the start because of the way that we started with our feudal society. We ended up with our polearm units and our soldier units starting with 1 extra rank, which essentially means they're coming in at soldier rank. So they do actually have a little bit of extra hit points than what we saw there before. This one's got 2 defense, so it's a polearm unit. It gets +1 for that one, and a base of +1 as well. And it's got 1 resistance as well, just from its base. And so this is it's got different abilities in through there. We'll have a look at that again when we get into the actual combat itself. We've got 2 of those. Actually, we've got 3 of those, so we don't actually have any of the basic shield units. And then we actually have a ranged unit as well. So we've just got an archer unit, and so the archer unit shoots a bow. This one does 10 damage. And that basically means it's got 3 shots if we don't move. And so shooting bows, these will be fairly important to us. Only 50 hit points, no real protection. There's only tier 1. It's costing us 8 upkeep per turn in gold. So this is where we sort of end up having this particular army. So let's go and move these down. Now, again, I can just right click. I can see there I've got 380 points against their 130. Let's just go down and have a look. If there's a hidden unit, which there isn't, then we could then sort of still do an evaluation. Now, when you come into combat, combat is one of these difficult things when you actually are playing Age of Wonders. I'll go through the basic principles of what to do in combat, and because this is where a lot of people I think get frustrated with the game. So Aries is saying, there is a faction research you can unlock to improve all your units in cool ways. I think it's similar to the unit mods. It's similar, but it's global. So when you actually do things, it's a global change. it changes like all of your ranged units, for example, not just one or two of them. And I prefer to have the nuance of being able to change one or two. Dusty Monk saying that that moment when you catch up with the live stream after watching on 2x speed and suddenly everything feels like slow motion. I am going slowly through this because I really want to gear this to players who are struggling getting into the game, and so I just want to go through, I guess, the ways of looking at the game and trying to approach it just to get people's heads into the right space, because Age of Wonders can be one of these games where you don't want to rush things. Now we're going along the road again, so I don't like having before we do. Actually, I'll do this combat and then we'll talk a little bit about what I could have done differently with this particular strategy, and we may still do a little bit of it. So if we just go across into, in fact, if I go to retreat, if I go to retreat from here. That then just stops me. I can still move around and do whatever else I want to do. What I could have done, if I didn't actually have a target, and why do I want to go after this one straight away? Two reasons. One is because I want to open the road and see if there's anything along the road, because, again, the roads lead to good things. And the second thing is, this one here is actually, I didn't show this before, this has got a large creature cage. So a large cage with a trapped creature. Moving your army onto it will allow the creature to join your ranks. And so in this case, we actually end up with we'll end up with an extra unit once we take this one over. So I do want to clear this one out so I can get a stronger army, but also to open up the road. Now, as far as moving along the road is concerned, you'll see that I've now still got 32 points for Alfred, and I've got 16 for everyone else. Now, what I might do is I might actually end up moving some of these other guys off into different directions just to sort of push back the fog of war. So we might sort of still go and do that one. By the way, that little that there is just indicating that's our capital city back into that side. So let's just go across, and I'm just going to choose just Alfred on his own. Now, if I'm right next to it, I can do this where I can actually go and get Alfred to just be the only one that attacks, but he'll bring everyone else into the actual attack, and it'll still be considered that he's coming from this particular group. So if we just go and do this one, you can still see there it's still a safe battle. So this can be a little tricky way of sort of doing it. Now, again, one good way to actually have a look to see what's actually going on is to just go and do an auto combat and then replay it and see what the AI does, because the AI does play these very, very well. And it doesn't matter what difficulty level you play it on, the battles are the battles. So if it's on easy or on brutal, it's just the amount of units you're going to be going up against will be probably the thing that will be different, not the actual battle itself. So there's no extra points it doesn't play any differently depending on your actual difficulty level there. Comrade is in saying, so does this game have the problem like Age of Wonders 3, just a higher tier unit rush? No, it's pretty balanced actually the way it does work. You tend to find that your low level units are still very, very valuable all the way through the game, particularly as they start to rank up and become, and also as you start to improve them. So, and because they're so cheap ultimately, it means that you can actually keep tier 1s and 2 units around for the whole game. Hi Thomas, how are you going? So in this case, we're going to go in with, we're only using Alfred to move in on this particular location at this point in time. I'm going to do manual combat, but probably the first one, maybe we'll just do this auto combat and then we can have a look and see what actually happened. So if we go and do this, the game also, I should point out, really, really encourages save scumming. So save scum battles over and over and over until you actually get a good feel for what you could have done differently in every single battle. Let's just auto combat this one. And so we get through that one. You see we almost lost this particular unit. So we're thinking, I wonder why. Wonder why that actually happened. Let's watch the replay. Now it's going to go relatively fast, so I'll just try to pause it. So I'm going to move all of the units all at once. And I can just sort of slow things. Oops, hang on, that got us out of there. It's just restarting. I don't think I can actually stop this one. I can't really sort of slow it down. Yeah, I can rewind it. So it's using spells to bolster their resistance. Then we've got this guy going in and doing an attack, and it's got that little bit of shock damage coming back. This one's coming up. Now I wouldn't have done that. I would have actually had more than just the one attack. So these are now coming in. He's doing the charge attack, a big attack there, 26 coming back through. This one goes in and then does more damage, but not enough to kill it. it has pinned it, and that's all it can really do. This one then gets attacked. This is the one that almost gets killed. So it's being attacked that way, and then this one does an attack back. This one is going to do a shock damage and do more damage against that one. It's reduced its defenses. There's a retaliation. That one's been killed off by Alfred. These guys come through and then do the damage in through that side. So again, having a bit of a look, it's very hard to sort of gauge what goes on with the combat, but it can be worthwhile having a look at that. What I'll do is I'm going to retry it. If you don't like the actual result, and it can be that you just don't want to see that sort of thing happen, I'll go through and play that myself and just go through the things to look for when you go into combat. And so I think these basic combats are going to be fine. I mean, this is certainly acceptable, but we can retry. And this is actually one of the great things with Age of Wonders, is you can basically just go back in and replay and replay and replay until you really get, until you're sort of learning as you go. So let's go through. Now, we had a quick look at what the different units are that are coming back in. Now, because we attacked them, and you can see that even though we only went in with Alfred, the whole group has come in with the actual attack that he's now part of. When we have a look at this one through this side, we can then see how far this one can reach. Now, that's got stink flowers underneath it, which are distracting. So units passing through or ending their turn on this hex will become distracted for one turn. And so we don't really want that, because distracted means that they're going to be getting what's called flanking attacks, which means that they end up taking a lot more damage. So we want to avoid that area through there. This one through this side can go a little bit further away. So they're sort of coming back through. This one has the charge attack, and this one here just has a normal attack in through this side. Now, we'll have a look at a few other little things while we're actually in here. So those stink flowers we have to be a little bit wary of. Sometimes there'll be things, for example, like high foliage, which will be obscuring. This means that your units become obscured in here, which makes them harder to hit from ranged attacks. So that can be useful. Not that there's any ranged attacks coming from the other side. This one is actually in low foliage. You can see there, and that also obscures it. So that one's obscured. This one is not. So the low foliage there sort of impacts what goes on with the terrain. The height of the actual terrain has no bearing in the game at all. Now we know that from the charge attack that this thing actually has, if I hover over the charge strike, so it gains 20% damage per hex travelled up to 3 hexes. So it can actually get an extra 60% damage if it can actually keep on running forward. So if we put a unit anywhere around these 3 hexes in through this side, it would end up doing not just 8 with its actual attack, it would actually end up doing an extra 60% of that. So it would be more like doing, say, 12 damage, 12 or even 13 or 14 damage of physical, and the same for electrical. So that's something we want to avoid. And the game is quite good at sitting back enough to egg you into, or give you a sense where you can sort of rush forward. And this is, I think, the first big tip of the game is to play defensively as much as you possibly can. It has such a big bearing. So what we want to do is we want to draw them in. Now there's a good chance that they won't be drawn in. So let's go and have a look. We've got 3 of these pikemen units. We've got Alfred as well, who is a shock unit. So we'd probably be wanting him to sort of have like an avenue to then come forward. And again, his strike, if he can travel 3 or more hexes, he's going to get an extra 20% per hex travelled. So the 24 damage will then go up dramatically into the 30. So the more he can travel before he does his attack, the better. So we'll leave that one. And also we want to get, probably more than anything, we want this archer in a position to be able to get all of the shots going. Now, let's have a look and see what's actually showing through this side. You can see there the little symbol is the same symbol that we sort of saw. If I left click on these, ranged unit, so a unit that takes out targets from afar, is somewhat vulnerable. Its accuracy is affected by line of sight, cannot fire its main ranged attack when engaged in melee. So this one we have to keep away from. We have to protect these, but that's just showing us that's a ranged unit. The 3 little dots you see through there, and you see when I hover over it there, they're the action points that a unit actually has. And so, for example, I can move this one anywhere out to this area out through there. Notice how, as I move from there to there, I've now got 2 action points, 2 action points, 1 action point. So when we have a look at the combat, we're then looking at the symbol that we sort of see underneath there, this 1 dot followed by the 3 in through there, means that this will actually, it can shoot as many times as there's action points available. That's what it's referring to. And so in that case, we do 12 damage per shot from the action points. Now, we're not going to be able to do anything this particular turn, so we're not going to be able to close the gap enough to do any damage with the ranged unit, but we do want to do that one because 12 times 3 is a lot. 36 damage is a lot of damage we can do with this particular unit. So it's tier 1, but quite valuable. So that's something we want to be considering. If we have a look at the support unit as an example as well, you'll see it's got different abilities, but this is its main attack ability, the Banner Smite. This has got a different sort of layout. In fact, all of these have got the same layout. And what these mean are that it only takes 1 action point to actually use this particular attack. And so we can walk anywhere and still be able to fire off that particular attack. It doesn't get any stronger or weaker no matter where we fire it from. So we don't have to worry, unlike this one here, that we don't want to be moving around. This one can move around and still do what it does. If we have a look at these guys, these have got the things where they can only do as many attacks with its main weapon as it's got action points. These do 14 per hit. Of course, the others have got, they're going to have their own protections as well. So this one will reduce the damage by a certain amount as well. And so what I want to do is I want to move these up into a position where it can't do the shock damage, like it can't actually sort of charge in. So when we know that I don't want to open the things up too much for it. So that one there, I can move that one up to there. That's safe. We know that that's actually going to be a safe position. Now this one in through this side can still get, so we want to go and create like another swoop. So rather than move to there where it can get a shot, I'm just going to move back into here. I'm going to have Alfred on the side ready to go charging in. Now if it does move to there, I want to be 3 away because of that attack. So 1, 2, 3, that will be okay. So I'll move that one up into that position and just get him ready to come charging in on the side. Now I've got the ranged unit, and I prefer to have the ranged unit back over here or here. It doesn't really matter that much actually. What I might do is I might just move this one up into this location, and then we move this one across. Now this is turn 1. Turn 1 we don't get to do any spell casting, and then this one over this side, I'm just going to move this one across. And I've got other things that I can do. Again, just hover over and see what they do. This is the Bulwark standard, so the caster and adjacent friendly units gain bolstered defense and bolstered resistance. I mean, we might as well do these sorts of things. We also have soothing standard, which heal temporary hit points, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And we also have defense mode of warding, which gives extends its zone of control to all adjacent hexes. So all adjacent friendly units gain +3 resistance and +6 status resistance. Now, we don't need to do anything just yet. What I think I might do is actually use this one here, the Bulwark standard. So remember, it's just 1 action point. I've still got 1 action point left over, the 1 dot that we've got there. So I'll go and click on that one. I can only do it on myself, but it will then bolster these as well. So let's just go and do that. And this is actually what we saw the AI do as well. But what the AI does is it brings everyone around to get all of that applied. I'm more concerned with trying to keep a solid line for the next turn. So the AI, this is how you can exploit the AI a little bit, because it will tend to cluster to use those buffs initially. And they are important buffs, but in this case, I prefer that not to be the case. That I don't really want to worry too much about that one. The others that are in here through here at this point in time, I'm just going to leave them where they are. So everyone is pretty much moved. I'm just going to go and click on OK through there. Let's just end our turn through that side. So if you don't do anything, they just go into defense mode, which gives them 2 defense and 2 resistance. I'll just go yes. See how they didn't come all the way in, but what they have now done is they've now set themselves up to be able to essentially stop us. So the AI is quite tricky like this. It actually has now figured out if we leave it where we are, it can then come down and do a charge strike against my units with that particular unit. This one as well can sort of come back down and start to do the chance to try to get an electrified attack. Now, I can bring Alfred up and do a massive damage in through there, because I can now sort of charge all the way up. So I can bring that one up. The trouble I actually have is what to do with the, and even that one there is not too bad. I want to avoid these flowers. I don't want to go through the flowers. So I want to sort of bypass. So let's focus on trying to kill this unit off so we can then get some other units to go around the outside edge to clear this one out. So with Alfred, if we have a look and see what he can do. So he's got the charge striking through this side. And this is where it's just worth having a bit of a look to see what things actually happen. And so the charge strike, again, 20% damage per hex travelled. So we did actually leave it where 1, 2, 3, 4. I can come charging in there and we do massive damage against that particular unit. Now the basic attack there is 26. It's saying, sorry, 24. It's saying that it can do 26. Now you think, okay, that's not 60% more than 24. That should be 36 or somewhere like that. It's to figure it all out. Actually, I do have a calculator. So if we go, it'll be 60% more. So it'll be 24 times 1.6 is equal to 38. So it's going to be, it should do 38 damage. So we'll just remember that it's got 38. If we go and click on this unit through here, this one actually has a defense of 3. And so it takes 27% off the actual attack. So if we go 38 times 0.27, not that you have to worry about this one, it's going to take 10 off that one, basically. So 38 minus 10 and a bit, so we end up with essentially, I mean, by the time the game sort of figures it all out, it says 26 damage for that attack. So it's within a ballpark of what it was sort of saying. So what we want to do through here is we want to go and weaken this one. Now, when we do it, if I press Control, sometimes I can get more information, but it's telling me that it's going to cancel the defense mode and cancel its retaliation. And so that means that you can see there's like a little area of swords sort of showing around both these units. This is its retaliation area. And so by charging, again, we hover over the charge through here. So not only do we gain that extra 12 points or whatever it is that we're going to sort of, actually more 14 points going in for that particular attack, it also cancels their defense mode and removes the retaliation strike. And so in this case, the first attack that we have coming in will reduce this the 3 that it has down to 1. So it's going to reduce the physical protection that it actually has, which then means it's going to be easier, and also the resistance as well, by the way. It's going to then be easier for us to kill this thing off. And so let's start that way. The other things we could do would be to start to move some of these units up to get them ready to come in. They don't have the same ability. These only just do physical attacks. And by the time we actually hit that area through there, we've only got 1 action point left. Similarly through there, only 1 action point. So we've only got like 1 shot going in. But it may be enough to kill it. But you can see through there, when we come back through, there's a retaliation strike that comes back. By using the charge attack, we remove that retaliation strike. So having Alfred go in and do this first attack actually sort of makes sense. Now what I want to do is I want to actually get rid of this unit entirely so I can bring as many units in around this serpent as I possibly can. So let's go and first of all strike this way. Okay, so with that one there, if I now bring this one up, you can see I don't quite get the kill with this particular unit. If I move it up 1 and then move this one up 1, you can see we've got a 10% chance of shooting it. If I move it to here, I've got a 30%. And so it's not great. Like the 30% is not fantastic. And similarly with this one through here, if we just move this one up, say 1 initially. By the way, you can always undo the last unit as long as you don't do anything that sort of causes any damage. But if we go that way, it's only 10%, 30% again. So the most I can do is 30%. You think, okay, well, why is it so inaccurate? And the reason it's inaccurate, again, if we have a look at the actual unit itself, we can then sort of see this thing has got, because it's a storm spirit, it's got a thing called a wind barrier. So this unit is 60% harder to hit by physical range and magic attacks. So it's very, very difficult for us to actually hit this thing. But we do want to try to do the damage. So I am going to move up this guy, not at 10%, but at 30%. So I'm going to move this one into here, where I can still sort of ultimately move it a little bit more. Actually, maybe we don't do that. That one can actually end up moving that way if we had to. I will take it actually. I'll take it up to here because we may be able to sort of move the others up through. If I move that to there, I can still get 2 action points. If I move it to there, I've only got 1 action point, but the 30% is not too bad. So let's go across. In fact, you can see there when I hover over, it's showing me the targets down where my mouse is. So at there, I'm 10% against the Storm Spirit. I'm 70% against the Serpent at there, but only 30% against this guy. But we want to clear this guy out if we can. So let's move this one up. Again, I don't want to get in the way of the others. And again, I can always undo this. So I'm just going to now go and shoot this one. If I can get these to land, we'll then get the kill. But there's only a 30% chance of getting a clean shot. It's not just a 2-hit, and this is actually important to understand. The way it actually works is, when you see the 30%, and the game doesn't explain this anywhere, but if you played Planetfall, you'll know what I'm talking about. The 30% we see there is for it to do full damage. The full damage that it does is 12. In fact, it's a little bit less. It says 22. That's 22 overall for the 2 shots, so 11 for each shot. Now, it's going to be trying to break through there. Now, the reason it's doing 11 with each shot is that this guy is now dropped from 3 to 1 because of this charge by Alfred. So Alfred has done the damage here to reduce its ability to protect itself. And so it's a nice clean area for us. The 30% is for us to do the 22 damage. Now, there's also a chance we're going to miss and just graze it, and there's also a chance we're going to miss it completely. And the way it works is you add another 25% on to whatever that number is. So we've got 55% chance of doing at least graze damage, and I'd be happy with that in this instance. Even if it doesn't kill it, I'm still be happy enough with that. And so that's going to do, but if we then miss it, if we get more than 55%, so we've only got 2 shots, there's a very good chance one of the shots will miss completely and the other one may do a bit of damage, so like 11 damage. It won't be enough to kill it. So that's sort of what the odds would sort of indicate. But that the plus 25 is important to sort of get a bit of a feel of what the graze is going to be like. Now, if we miss it catastrophically, it can hit anywhere around the outside edge, including Alfred and including the Serpent. You can see there I've got 70% chance against the Serpent, but let's go this way. So we're just going to take this option. That's probably the smarter move overall, but I want to try to kill this one off. So we'll just go this side. And we'll see what we end up getting. We've got a graze, and we've got a miss. Okay, so we didn't do much damage there. And if we wanted to see, okay, well, how did that one actually work? Let's have a look and see what the actual numbers were. And so we've got the archer, shoots the bow. And so we needed 70 because it had the 30, like so we needed to roll a 70 or more on a 100-sided dice. If we roll less than 25 of that one, so anything over 45 is going to give us essentially the graze, and we got a 69. So we just won off getting a full shot, and so we missed with that one through there, but got the graze, so we did half the damage, and then we use it again, and this time we needed a 45, and we got a 44. So we just missed out. Does that one work? It's it should have been 45. So we just missed out on getting another graze. So that's a shame, but it was close. So we'll just close that one off. That then we've now got the ability to kill it off, and you'll notice that this one doesn't actually have a 2-hit problem. Like it's just going to do the damage. One thing I'd like to do is to bring this one up now as well. So I'll bring all of these up. And I've got, again, this one doesn't really matter that much. I'm just going to take this one and try it again. So this has actually got an ability to also reduce its defense. So if we just go for it, and we missed again. So again, if we want to see what we actually rolled with that one, we needed a 70, we rolled a 36, so that was under the 45 to get the graze. So we still would have got the graze if we had have got within 25 of that 30, which means we now have to, we don't have any real choice, we now have to go through and kill this particular unit off, and I'm not going to have any real choice in through this side. So let's just go this way. And if I go through here and get distracted, I'm not going to do it actually. I'm just going to keep that one where that is. This way I can sort of keep the health going of my actual units. So we'll just actually got a spell that's ready to launch as well. We've only got Call to Glory, which is a buff spell which becomes extra strengthened. I could have done that one earlier actually. That would have actually made my units a bit stronger with their attacks. Let's not worry about it. Just end our turn in here. So it's coming in and doing the damage. It only had like 2 actions. And so in this case, we now want to get in behind. Now, it's attacked in this direction. When we hover over it, see how there's a sword that goes off on either side of the attack that it did? And so this is actually where we need to, essentially if we attack from either of those angles, we're attacking the front of the unit, or the facing of the unit. If we can attack in behind it, we then do damage against its flank, which does a lot more damage. Now, Alfred, again, remember, can actually do the... if he can move 3, he's going to do better damage. So if we move him back, that'll be too far, I think. If we move him back to, say, here, I can then come through and do a flanking attack that's going to do 30 damage. So we'll grab this one. Now, there's a bit of retaliation came back through it, and we got the flanking attack. So then we've got our ranged units. Now you can see there it's got 50% this time, whereas before when it was further away it was 70%. So why is it doing that? And if we just go and with that one selected with the 50, if we go and press Control, it will then tell us what's going on through there. So we have stand together, which is giving us a bit of a boost, but we have negative 40% because we're obscured by a unit. And what's happening is this unit here is in the way. And so we can't actually get a clean shot. It's actually in our line of sight. So what we need to do is if we come up to here, we get a 90% because it's then nice and close, and we can just shoot straight over the top of this particular unit. So even though it means we lose one of the action points, it's probably still worth doing. So let's just go and do that. We've still got stand together, and then we're not going to get the kill here, but we're going to get close. So we'll just go and do the shot. And again, we're not going to sort of suffer too much from that side there. This unit here is also 90% because this one is not in the way. So we're just firing straight across the top of these guys at the unit, and this will then kill it. But just play defensively is really the key to it. And so you can see there we lost a lot less points than what the AI did, just by being a bit more cautious. So we'll just go and close that one off. And we got a Razorback, which is probably the worst of the different units we can actually grow and grow. Actually, no, Razorbacks aren't too bad. This is actually a ranged unit. It sort of shoots quills off its back. So we'll take the reward. And so this is now another unit that we actually have. And so if we have a look at this unit, this one's got all 32 of its movement points, and so it can move along the road there and beyond. Alfred can also still move at 27. So let's move Alfred along the road, because he can now move further than the others. Here we go. Now this is what I mentioned before about the red symbols. This one here is a spawner. So we've got a spawn location at this point. So there's nothing much else on the other side of that one that we can sort of see. We'll just go down to the edge. Now, a few different things we can look at with the Brigand Camp. So you're going to end up with these sorts of all over the place. Some of them are very weak. This one looks like a very weak one. So the Brigand Camp, if we just hover over that one through there, we can then sort of see this is a bronze infestation spawner. So they've got bronze, silver, and gold. Bronze is the weakest of them, and so this is sort of like the weakest of what actually does go on. Now, did I end up with some problems there? It looks like chat disconnected for a second. I think we're okay again. So in this case, we've got the it's an easy infestation spawner, or easy-ish essentially. We can see through there it's got 130 power again, like the previous one. The owner is the Marauder Guard, and it's on the actual road itself. The important thing with this one, if we have a look at the actual grouping itself, it's just got like a support unit, a steel shaper. This one does actual blast, like physical blast with its attack, and it also has a shield unit, which is another of the basic types of units. And you can see there, this one here is actually something called a resourceful. Hang on, just right click. Resourceful humanoids, and so this is another human group, a different human group than what ours actually is. Again, they've got fast recuperation and adaptable. These ones are industrious, prolific swarmers, and experienced seafarers. So this is like a different sort of culture with what they actually have. So they've just got like different abilities, very similar to what we actually have with ours, but a little bit different. If we have a look at this unit through here, these are actually raiding mole men. So these are actually like a different sort of group. These have got bulwarks, which make them very, very good in defence, and underground adaptation. Again, it's just everything is a little bit different. This one here is a barbarian unit, so this is actually the culture it comes from. So there's different abilities in through all of these different things. Anyway, that's who we'll be going up against in here. I will bring the group through. Now you can see there it's got the it's asleep at the moment. The actual group itself. If I hover over that one, it should show when it's going to wake up. There we go. If I just double click on it. So this is the brigand camp. So deep sleep. This infestation will become active in 9+ turns. So we've got a heap of time before it becomes active. When it becomes active, it will then spawn other units to then start to wander around inside its territory, and eventually it'll just get stronger and stronger and stronger. So you do want to clear them out if you can. Let's go and move these off. Now, we've got one of these which is now a little bit injured, and so you can see there 45 out of 69 points. I'm going to move it back. So I'm just going to select that one on its own and move it back inside my territory. And what happens there is, usually when a unit is injured, it only heals up 5 hit points for every turn on the world map. But if it's inside your territory, it heals 25. Now, our particular faction, if we have a look at this group again, at the Destined Humans, we end up with fast recuperation. We end up with an extra +5, so we end up with 10 out in the open. So I could keep it with the army, but I'll just move it off for now. Oh, damn it! I can't. You can't undo those. But anyway, that's okay. Got him back in there. If we want to get the 25 coming from this side in through here. Now this one again, I probably now do want to keep all of these together so we can actually go and clear out this brigand camp. So let's move this one down, and we'll move this particular beast as well. You can see it's got a quill shot. This is only a one action, so it does 20 damage with its razorback quills. It's fairly sort of simple with the way it sort of does work. It's got quill hide there as well, so melee attackers sustain 3 physical damage per attack with what it can actually then go and do. So let's just go and bring that one across to stay with Alfred. Now, we've just finished production in the city itself, so let's just talk a little bit about what's actually happening through here. It's still the first turn, actually. So with this particular turn, we then actually go to the city itself. So this is actually like a whole new section. Okay, so, sorry, I'm missing a lot of the comments here, guys. I'll just have a quick look and see if I can figure out. So we've got high availability. Areas are saying balancing high tier units with low has been an issue for the entire existence of Age of Wonders. Good to hear that they did better in Age of Wonders 4. They did well in Age of Wonders Planetfall as well. Availability saying, hey Daz, what are your thoughts on magic? I found the astral magic was really strong in the game out of all the affinities. Everyone's going to have a different opinion, I think. It's I find the chaos way overpowered than anything else, to be honest. So I think people are going to have different thoughts. I just play now for role play. I don't bother trying to min-max anymore. So no more tier 3 spam like Age of Wonders 3. No, not really. Sort of in the late game, you do want to have like groups, but you really need to have combined arms now in the game. Combined arms is very important in Age of Wonders 4. We didn't sort of see it much then, but you know, we sort of like our pole arm units were really our defensive units in that particular last fight. So sorry, I don't know what the acrylic is there. Sorry, I'll just say acrylic. Acrylic saying one thing I found is that you have a very you have to be very conscious of the order of things. I always mess up. Example, not getting all my guys together first for adjacency bonuses to attack. Exactly. Actually, it's just all sorts of little nuances, and the more you play the game, the more you pick those up, and that's why save scumming and just replaying the same battle over and over and over, you learn so much from doing it. It's really quite amazing. So Jonathan's saying, wait, is this an actual live stream, and is it early or late for Daz? It's actually mid-afternoon for me. Either way, glad he's on now. Yes, no, it is a live stream. So it's 2 p.m. for Daz now. Yeah, 2:30ish now. So do damage units do less damage than full health ones? Yes, they do, depending on the number of units in the stack. As if they start to lose numbers, like Master of Magic, for example, and other games like that, the more units from the stack that get killed off, the less damage that the stack will then go and do. So that is now a feature of Age of Wonders. It used to not be. It was originally, I think, and then they sort of changed it, I think, in 3. Would it be better to use the ranged attacks on the Serpent, where you actually get better chance to hit, and also to avoid the Serpent's shock damage? Yes, it would, like that could certainly be argued. The 70% attack again versus the 30% was big. I just wanted to almost show that I was trying to break open. If I had had two good shots with those ranged attacks on that unit, I would have then opened it up to allow my polearm units to surround the serpent, but I couldn't go through those flowers. So I was just taking a bit of a gamble, which is not a very good gamble. Where are we up to? Dusty Monk saying damage is only reduced if the number of models is reduced. That's right. So big creatures are not affected. Exactly. Yes. So big creatures are not impacted by damage as such. They'll just keep on doing the same amount of damage. Dusty Monk saying yes. So a single model enemy like a serpent will do the same damage with only one hit point remaining. Yes. Yep. So I'll just skim past a few of these. I believe units with more models typically do more damage per action point to compensate for the diminishing damage they can suffer. Yeah, it's not a hard science. I don't know how the split actually goes in the game. So far, I feel like they combined Age of Wonders 3 with the lessons and improvements they learned in Planetfall to create Age of Wonders 4. Very much so. In fact, when you look at it, if you played Age of Wonders Shadow Magic or Age of Wonders 2, and if you've played a lot of that game, and then have a look at where we ended up with Age of Wonders 4, there's actually more from 2 than there is from 3, and which I think is really, really exciting. It's really quite cool the way they've done that. And so for me, it feels more like an extension of 2 with Planetfall than 3. It feels like it's gone back a little bit to what made 2 so great. And not very many people played 2, but that's sort of like a lot of the characters in the game come from version 2 of the game, back from the early 2000s. So it's quite interesting the way that actually does work. William is saying healing normal in territory is 15. No, it's only 5. The basic is only 5, and your adaptability makes it 20. It only makes it 10 for me. So if I leave him outside of my territory, it's only 5 per turn. So Dracula is saying, I like the changes. I hope that they will tweak the province system to be more penalising as others of you annex in other provinces. This will enhance territory diplomacy and make it more meaningful. Yeah, there's a lot of tweaks I hope they will make. It's not a perfect game, but it's very, very good for a game that's just released. Sonny Bits is saying hi, and Ramstein is saying good morning as well. Dracula is saying especially distant claims, and good evening from California, says Analogical. Yep, there we go. And Dracula saying go Callie. All right, we're caught up with the chat. So we'll continue on. So these guys in through here, none of these took any damage. He didn't take any damage. Actually, he took a little bit of damage in through there. I'm not going to be able to see exactly. He's only got 3 damage, so he'll actually get his damage back this particular turn. Now, production. The cities themselves, again, don't overthink things with the cities to a degree. I'll go through a bit of the min-maxing, I guess, just so you get a bit of a feel for it. If you click on any area outside and then click it a second time, you're then going to see the province system. So you can see the actual provinces that can then grow. Now, as our population increases, and you can see Florin has got 1 population in it, when that population grows to 2, we then get to choose one other area around the city. Anything that's touching the actual provinces in through this side, we can then grow to. Now, initially it's constrained by how developed the city actually is as well. And so we can go a couple of levels out before we then can't do any more. But as we build the city up, we can then go further and further afield. Now, we don't have to over-plan things too much, but we're going to have a few different abilities available to us. Now, when we have a look at the actual provinces in around this side, we can see that there's actually, there's nothing special. I mean, these are just pickups. So there's a gold stash there. Doesn't do anything to do with the provinces. But there are some features. We've got ourselves like a farm over through the side, or pasture. If we can annex this area, we get 10 extra food. Food then gives us growth. And so the growth that we would end up getting from there would then make the city grow faster. So that's a good choice to go for straight away, is to try to get extra food. This one here is not connected, but this one actually over through this side is actually a iron deposit. And so this one is a resource that's going to give us more production. So we're going to be able to build faster inside the city. So that's actually what that little symbol is in through that side. Again, if you're sort of trying to figure out what's going on, actually it's not really telling us what the actual thing is there, but it will inside the city itself. Back over through here, we have a gold mine. This is going to give us extra gold. And so if we were struggling for the gold up through this side, then getting this one can be viable. By the way, when I hover over these sorts of things, you'll sort of notice that when I've double-clicked, it will then show me what I can ultimately build on different locations. And so we've got different province improvements. But when we go up the next level, we're then going to be able to make a choice of any of the ones that are touching the outside edge. And we're not seeing too much in through that side just yet. But these two here are really going to be our best options, followed by this one ultimately once we get one of these two. So when we do get the improvement, so just thinking ahead a little bit, I'm sort of thinking I wouldn't mind going for the extra one over through this side. If I go and click twice in through there, the things I can build in this province when I do claim it is I can build a farm in this with the pastures, which will give me an extra piece of we get a little bit extra with the food. So that'll give me 15 food rather than 10 food. Or I can go and get a forester, and the forester will give me a little bit of gold, a little bit of food as well. But I can build either one of those. It doesn't boost the pasture doesn't need a farm to get more from it. The pasture will give us 10 no matter what. So we don't have to worry about trying to match things. Like, for example, this one through here, if we go and click twice in there, an extra thing we can get in through here is a quarry or a gold mine. So depending on what our needs are, we can actually go and choose any one of these province improvements at these different locations. And similarly in through here, we can also then get a farm because it's a pasture. We can get a quarry or a mine because of the actual mine itself. So we've got different options. So just be aware of that when we go in. So these are the province improvements that we can sort of then go and get. If we've got like a forest area, like back over through here, for example, we just go and click on that one. We can get foresters. There's not too much. I mean, there's no mana as such that we can see, but if there was a mana outcrop somewhere in around here, we'd be able to then pick up conduits or research areas as well. So there's not a hell of a lot we can actually then go and do. So we go into the city itself. In fact, when we click on the city, you can sort of see there, if we can do it, it will then sort of show us what we can actually then go and build. Actually, we can see that through there, we've got we can build farms or foresters in around the actual city itself. Notice how these are larger all the way through, and notice how that they're all the same size, even though they're larger than these other ones. And what this does is it's just showing you that it's recommending that you go with one of these two areas. Now it looks like they're identical sizing, so it's sort of saying, look, your best option when you can expand would be to go either here or here, but really it's not recommending one above anywhere else. But it will do that if it thinks that you need something in particular. It will help you and give you some guidance as to what province improvements you need. But we're still 3 turns away from actually going and getting another province improvement. So I'm actually going to be covering this a little bit. I'll just turn off my face cam there for a second. And I'll just talk a little bit about what's going on through this other side. I thought I'd be fairly safe there. Maybe, actually, what I might do is I might just, I'll turn it back on again, but I will just move it down away. Can I do that? Move it down into here. I'll just, I'll get rid of that symbol there as well, that text about, if you are looking to get the game, I do actually have it available on my Nexus game store, so I'll just go down the bottom here, but I'll just close that one off. But if you do want to grab the game, you can certainly help out and get it from the game store there. Okay, so this is this is the actual the city itself. So let's just go through, and again for your first game, just hover over things like you've seen there. Destined Humans, we've already sort of gone over them before. Florin is the name of the city, which you can sort of see down through this side. You can see it's got a picture of Alfred. Now, Alfred will always be, whoever your leader is, will be in charge of your capital city. And the capital city will have the crown floating above it, and also the crown above this area through here. Now, when we look at the city itself, on the left-hand side will be what it's building, and on the right-hand side will be the unit that it's creating. So you can do either one of them. So as we go back through it, the actual town itself is showing us basically who owns it, which is us, and it's the Crown City. If we've got you can see there, it's just a small village because it's only got like one population at the moment. This through here is its siege capacity or its siege abilities from through this other side, and it's got 90 abilities there to protect itself. And Generally, that would mean that if there's no siege equipment coming against you, you've got 9 turns to return back to the city to then go and fight any siege. So you don't have to stay with the city the whole time. You can do whatever you actually like with that one. So I'm just going to lock that one in. So that's where we are through there. Then we actually have the stability of the city. So if I just go and hover over this one in here, it will give me an actual, it'll tell me what's going on with the city itself. And so city stability is very important. It indicates that it will actually give it extra boosts to its growth, all sorts of different things. So low stability reduces all city income. Very low stability can lead to the city losing provinces. So you've got to be very, very careful with stability. So you've got to be sort of trying to manage things a little bit. Now, at the moment, we're stable. So we're in this little category and through this side. And so for stable, we get plus 5% production, draft and food income. When it goes down to neutral between -9 and 9, we then end up with nothing, and then we can go down to unstable, unrest and rioting. So we have to be very careful with what we do, but don't overdo it. So just be sort of aware of it, like just look at it every so often and just make sure it's not going backwards too quickly. It can go backwards. So so back in through this other side, we then actually have its abilities from what it's actually got inside the city. And so we're getting plus 49 food. And so used in cities to gain new population. And so with the 49, you can see through there, again, it just gives us a bit of it shows us exactly what's causing this one. So the city structures, with food, we've got the town hall version 1 is giving us plus 40. The multipliers back and through there, the city stability is giving us, the rations are plus 8. And then because we're stable, we're getting another plus 2 in through there as well. The domain itself, we're getting the governor bonus of plus 2. And we've also got population is actually now feeding away because we've got, the one population is then chewing up three food essentially. And so once we sort of get this one going a bit stronger, in 3 turns, we're then going to get another population. So that's how that one does work. Back and through here is the production. So this is used, again, we've got city structures. This has got the town hall again, giving us plus 20, and a workshop, which we start with, which also gives us plus 10. Similarly in through here, the draft, the town centre and the workshop. So they're the different things in the city. We don't have very much in the city at this point in time. Back over through here is the other things that it generates. So it's generating gold used for units and building city structures. We've got mana as well. So it's the city structure that's doing that one is the throne itself. It's giving us 20 mana. We have 60 knowledge coming as well. This will be coming from the throne. So 60 and through that way. And Imperium as well. And that will be coming from the throne. So these things all come from different areas inside the city as well. To have a look and see what the city has got, you just click on this gear icon. It will then bring up further information about the city. So just have a bit of a look at this if you are sort of new to the game. Don't worry too much about it. But in this case, we've got like the settings in through this side. Now, at the moment, the expansion focus, I can actually have the city look after itself, but the expansion focus is being set to manual. But I can tell it to actually just for a governor to do whatever I want it to do if I wanted to play it that way. But generally, manual is fine. So just go manual. Automate production as well allows them to then build whatever they want to produce. So you can actually have it so that it's fully AI controlled. Assigning the governor, we have to have our leader as the governor of the city. Now, we can give a Whispering Stone to the city itself. Now, we've actually got 2 of them, and we really only need 1 of them to give to that other city that we've just found earlier. So I'm going to give this Whispering Stone to this city because what this one will then go and do, so give a Whispering Stone to the city. This will passively improve your city stability by 2 per turn up to a maximum bonus of 20. And so when we have a look at this again with our city stability, and hover over that one through there. At the moment, we're running at 30. That would ultimately give us 50, which would then make it go from stable to orderly, which will then give us 10% extra for production, draft, and food. So if we can manage that, that would be good. These are more valuable to give to vassal cities, but at this point in time, we've got 2. We might as well use it in here. There's no negative with doing this one, but it'll slowly improve our city stability. So let's just give one of the Whispering Stones across. You'll see it's up through here. So we're going to give that one into there. And now we've only got one left. So we've got one left to give to other cities, but we can always come back and withdraw. This is no negative to withdrawing it. We can change the city name in there as well. Provinces back in through there, we haven't claimed any yet. And structures, this is actually what we've got built. So we've got the town hall, which we sort of saw there before with the different bonuses that it provides. The throne, we can only have one of these. The workshop, which is the so we start off with this one because we started off as feudal. The stone walls gives us more fortification health, which makes it more difficult for units to attack us. Palisade walls, which also gives more fortification health, and ballista towers, which is a more fortification health in through there. So this is what our little village consists of at this point in time. So that's sort of like where we can just have a bit of a summary as to what actually went on. Again, it's just worth having a bit of a look at, sort of not that you need to know that so much. Now we're going to come down into this with the build structure. Now remember, we were looking at these before. We're sort of just thinking, okay, we're probably going to start with the farm to start with, followed by the mine. Or mine or quarry would be the ones we'd sort of look at for either one of those. So if we go across into this area, if we don't build anything, we can convert 25% of the production to gold, which is not a hell of a lot, really. So the 34, we're going to get basically 25% of that coming across as gold. And so we don't want to be doing that. If we go across and click the build structure, we then actually have like a whole range of different sorts of things we can then go and build. So let's have a look at let's start at the bottom and work our way up, because usually the ones that you want tend to be towards the bottom here as well. Also notice how there's like a little symbol. This one's showing gold income, food, production, research or knowledge, and then mana incoming through the side as well. And so these unlock different things as well. So if we start down at the vendor, this is a fairly simple one. And so the vendor is a city structure that gives plus 10 gold income, which is fairly good. It does unlock the market. So when it's built, the next level of building along this line is the market. And I can then hover over the market. It gives us plus 15 gold. And then the next one is the mint. The mint then actually gives us plus 20 gold income, which does require at least one mine in the surrounding provinces, and then it unlocks the merchant guild. The merchant guild will then give us like plus 10 gold income per mine. So if we specialise in mining or gold, we can sort of end up going that way. So that's the vendor. Now the other thing with this one as well, it does cost 130 production, which is how much time it's going to take, for us to then use this one. So what's it, about 4 or 5 turns, just sort of 4 turns in through there. And it's going to cost me 60 gold as well. Now I've got 450 gold at the top, so I can easily sort of afford that. Down the bottom here is a thing called the boost. Now the boost, if we can build a farm with this one, so if we have one farm, we're going to then get a boost, and the boosting a city structure reduces its cost by 30%. So this actually means that the production and the gold is reduced, and this actually can be quite dramatic actually with what actually does go on. So we want to get a farm first, so let's not bother with the vendor. So let's not choose that one, because we're going to get a farm first. Probably farm in through here, I think, just to really get the growth going. The storehouse in through this side requires a forester. We're not going to get that one all that early, but this one does give us even more food, so we can get the growth happening a bit faster. The stonemason with production requires 2 farms to get the boost in through this side. The stonemason comes from the workshop, so this is the second tier workshop. Not that important to us at this point in time. You can see there it also costs us a fair bit more. The library is boosted by another forester unit as well. We're not going to get foresters from either of these locations. Actually, I could technically get a forester there. That would give me the library boosted as well as the storehouse. Actually, that's not a bad choice, putting a forester there. Gives me 2 boosts. The clergy commons in through the side requires a quarry to boost this one. You don't have to do it this way, but it does make it a bit easier. And the blacksmith as well, I think, comes after the workshop. This one just improves our draft. So let's go with the. Let's go with the vendor, because I think we'll get a forester here when we can get one. So we'll go with a vendor here now, because then I can get the storehouse when I get the forester. I can get the library when I get the forester as well. So they can both be boosted with the forester here. So we'll just go across to the vendor. So we now start to get that one in 4 turns. 3 turns we get the extra population, build the forester. By the time this one comes through, we can then get the others. Next thing we can do down through this side is to do this one. So this one is at the moment generating 8 food. So 25% of the draft has been converted to food. Generally at the start of the game you do want to start to get some other units, and at the moment we're a little bit light on archers. So I'm going to grab an archer unit. We've got 3 pikemen. Another archer would just round things out quite nicely. The scouts are cheaper, but they're very, very weak in combat. So let's just go and grab an archer. That's going to be 3 turns before we get that one through there. And so that's pretty much the city. Just be aware of what it's doing with your gold and your mana, etc. when you are building things. Just close that one off through there. And the last thing we have to do this turn is the arcane research. And so when we click on this one through this side, it's going to give us randomly 3 different spells from the tomes that we have available. And if we have a look at the tome libraries, I think we can sort of see it from in here. If I just click on the actual types of tomes that we actually have, it's not going to show the basic tomes. So we've got the Tome of Evocation is actually so... actually, no, that's not the one that we've got. I forget which one we've actually got. Anyway, won't matter much. We'll just we'll hide the tome library. This is the these are the different spells that we have available. Now, this allows our scouts to look a little bit further, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to be using the scout very much in this particular game. We've got in 7 turns we can have Hold the Line, which is a feudal buff spell. So friendly units in a 1 hex radius gain steadfast. So that's something that could be done, but it's going to take 7 turns to get this one. And Faithful Whispers, this is actually, you can see through there, you can tell where it's coming from. This one is coming from just being part of a feudal group. This one here is just general research. And this one here is coming from the Tome of Faith that we started with. That was the one we actually did start with. And so this is a sustained city spell. So allegiance with a target free city increases 30% faster. This one may be worth getting. So let's just go and grab that one through there initially. So we'll end our turn. We've now finally got to the end of the first turn. It took a fair while. But it's this sort of learning, really, with what you're doing. Don't worry too much about what's going on around you. It'll still be all okay. So it's now the next turn. We can see a few different things happening. We can see that there's like a little arrows pointing in through here, which means that we're aware of an enemy unit that's there. This one is hidden. There may be hidden units back in here, but I doubt it. This guy here has now healed right up, so he's now back to 69. This group can come back through, and we can then go and clear out this particular location as well. So let's go and move them down. Let's not bother with this one. Let's go and move across and grab the extra gold. So we picked up 79 gold through there. We'll just go across and pick up this Miss Mana as well. Now we want to go and find who the city actually is over through this side. So let's just go across. Let's go this way a little bit. So Instalter is in through that side through there. So let's just keep on having a bit of a look until they see us. Okay, so this is actually this is Baroness Shady de Shade of the Free City of Instalter greets you with a nefarious sneer. This is an elf, some sort of dark elf by the looks. So salutations, great and powerful Alfred Elstone. Please excuse the stench of death. You may have noticed before our discussions, this is part and parcel of our dark ways, not an omen of what's to come now that the people of Instalter have made your acquaintance, unless we are provoked. And so in this case, we can give her one of our Whispering Stones. We want to do this. Even if they're not really aligned with us, we can still do this. So we'll just go and see if we can find common ground and put them in through there. So this is a free city, so we'll just go across. You can see through there we've got 0 allegiance at the moment. It will tell you what they think of you. In this case, they're quite respectful, so they're actually positive about us. And it's a big city as well in through the side. So, and we've got essentially what it thinks of us. Now, if we end up down in this area, it's essentially mean that they're going to go to war with us. This is neutral. Back and through here, we get a pact of cooperation where we can start to trade with them. Or if we go even across into this other side, we then end up with a pact of loyalty, which then sort of leads on to vassalation, where they can become a vassal. So we're going to give them a Whispering Stone. And what this then does is it will then change the allegiance every turn across. So we'll give the Whispering Stone to them. So we've got no more Whispering Stones left, so we'll just leave them where they are, and but that will then improve the relationship turn after turn after turn. So we'll end up, it's going to get to the Pact of Cooperation in 8 turns, and so that's going to be sort of what happens in through there. So this city will become a friendly city, even though it's an undead or dark elf type sort of city. It looks like a fairly gnarly sort of group. So let's just leave that one where that is. And so we'll end up using diplomacy with that particular unit. Now, that's not the city I was expecting to find. I was expecting to find one of my cities, like the same faction as me. So I'm just going to keep on wandering down this other way and see what else we can find. So we've now come across the units that were sort of sitting back in through there as well. Okay, so, and again, there's no red skulls, so we don't have to worry about these. That's not really a problem. We'll just go back across to Alfred. So we'll now bring this stack in to attack this particular brigand camp. And again, it's going to be a very easy and safe battle for us. I'll just do a quick save before I go in, just in case I want to reload it. It's just an old habit. And so this is the brigand area that it controls. And so I've got auto combat. Let's just do manual combat again and just go through how these actually then work. So this unit here is a tier 1 warrior unit. It's a shield unit. It's got very, very good native defense anyway because it's a moleman. So the molemen have got special abilities, like the raiding molemen have got bulwark. And bulwark gives the defense mode gives it an extra +2. So it's very, very strong on defense. But defense isn't going to help it much in this instance. It does have shield bash as well, so base 90% of the target becomes stunned, so it enters defensive mode after use. So it can actually shield bash somebody to try to stun them, and so we'll see how that one goes for it as well. So we'll just do manual combat. So it's the same great explanation for that basic diplomacy. I hope I'm saying enough without making it overly complex, because it is a complex game. So in this instance again, we can sort of see that this unit is not the shock units that we saw in our last battle. This is actually a defensive unit. This is a shield unit, and we can see there it's got a special ability which is a shield wall. And so I'm not as worried about it attacking me as what I was previously. This support unit as well, they tend to be fairly weak. This one has a steel blast of only 16 damage. Its main ability, though, is going to be this strength from steel. So target-friendly unit loses all stacks of bolstered defense and bolstered resistance, and that's like a healing spell. And then this one through here is a defensive spell that's going to give an extra bolstered resistance to this one. So you can see there, this one's got now defense of 9, so it reduces 61% of the physical attacks with what it does go and do, because it has put itself into a shield wall. And so it's got 9 and 7 resistance. This is actually worth, it's only 2 units, but you can see there it's just enormous what it can actually do with this. If we go and click on this one through here. So this is a tier 1 unit with incredible protection, like absolutely incredible protection. I'll just grab a quick drink of water, be right back. So how is this unit getting such unbelievable abilities? If we compare that, for example, to our own, if we just go back to one of our units and just go to one of our tier 1 units, you can see ours has only got 2 and 1. So this is what we actually have. We've got a little bit of protection and a little bit of resistance, whereas this guy, as I say, if I just right click on that or left click on that one through there, 9 and 7, so just dramatically more powerful than what we've got. When we have a look at it, if I hover over this one, we can then see how this is made up. So the base is 2, even though it's only a recruit, it's still got a base of 2 because it's a shield unit. The shield unit gives it an extra 2 defense anyway. It's got bulwark. The bulwark comes from being a moleman, a raiding moleman in this case, with bulwark. So defense mode grants it +2 defense and +2 resistance. So that's actually why it's also getting a little bit more in through there. Shield defense has got +3. Anything nearby that's got a this defense mode of shield wall, well then all adjacent friendly units gain +3 defense. So it's got +3 defense because it's put up a shield wall. So it's sort of raising the shield, and through that side. and then it's also then got the shield wall +2. It's got shield defense is the actual defense itself, and it's also then gaining another +2 from the shield wall that it put up. So even though it's only a single unit, it's doing quite well in through there. Actually, shield defense in through there, this unit has +3 defense against non-flanking attacks. Yeah, so incredibly strong defense back in through this side. Now, if we can dislodge its defensive abilities, we then remove the bulwark, we remove the shield defense, and we remove the shield wall. So 7 of those 9 can be taken off with a good charge from our from Alfred. So if Alfred charges it, it should drop from 9 to 2, which will then make it easier for everyone else to then attack it. So this is something to consider. From this side over through here with the resistances, we have bulwark, we have shield wall again, and we have warding. Now the warding is coming from, you can see it through there. This unit has +3 resistance and +3 status resistance, which makes it so it's very difficult for us to then break through with magically. So it's got incredible protection there against magic. The warding is coming from the unit behind. So this one through here, if we have a look and hover over this thing through here, this is the defense mode is warding. So it says at the very bottom there, all adjacent friendly units gain +3 resistance and +3 status resistance. So this unit is a bit like the shield wall, but for magic. So these are very, very defensive. Now, that's great if you've got other attacking units in your group, but when you only have defensive units, it means that they don't attack very well. And so this grouping through this side, if we have a look at it, it does actually have the melee strike. It's going to have 3 of those, which do 3 times 10, so up to 30. It has a shield bash as well, which will essentially base 90% of the target unit becomes stunned, and it is a defensive mode after use. But there's no one else around to really make good use of the stunned units that it will end up having. So I'm not overly concerned about this one, but I still want to have Alfred, again, charge in and do the damage. So I'm going to have Alfred maybe sort of move into this location. We can see that this one can move maximum up to there. And I wouldn't even mind if it could actually sort of do that. Like if I move that one up to there, it will actually invite the attack, but it won't do it. It just won't do it. So let's just go and move that one up. We'll move the quilled unit up to there. We'll get Alfred back in around this other side, I think. Now that's more stink flowers, so we want to avoid those. But what you want to do is we want to have enough of a charge to be able to dislodge it. Now I don't have to go and get all the extras for this one through here, but as soon as I dislodge one of those, it will be very, very helpful. Let's move this one up as well. But the archers, which won't do a hell of a lot this time. I'll move that one up, and this again, we've just got the warding in through this side as well. So we'll end our turn there. So again, I'm trying. What's going through my head here before I end the turn is that I know that this one can attack this unit. It won't do dramatic damage, and if it does take the bait, I'm then going to be able to smash it, absolutely smash it with it, because all of these are within striking distance of that square. And so as long as I can get rid of its ability, it may come through and use the stun ability. But again, this is now a bit of a target for its attack. I don't think this one will do much damage here at all. And so it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think that they'll end up staying further back again, just for one more turn. But they may come through. They may come through and try to stun. No, see how they're hovering back, because like there's no benefit to them to actually sort of go and do this one. Now I can attack this one and cancels its defensive mode and retaliation. But if I go that side, it's not going to help me that much. Now it can go. Now it can actually get out to where Alfred actually is. Let's just move this one out a little bit. Yeah, so it can actually still reach me. And I wouldn't mind if it did. Like I can sort of hover over it and see it can do a little bit of damage. It's showing that it's going to be flanked, but that's because I haven't actually finished my turn yet. Now if I click on Alfred, I haven't actually done any other movements or anything like this, so I can actually undo that move if I wanted to. So I can keep on sort of just trying to plan where I want to go. Now it can move out to there. I'm actually happy enough for it to actually, I'm happy enough for Alfred to go into this location. And if I then go and just change the facing, the rotation isn't going to really matter that much. So this doesn't take any action points. I'll just go and have him facing this way anyway. And we'll just put him into defensive mode. Now I can charge in God, you know, it's one of these things. I'm only going to do 14 damage because of the protection that it actually has. I do have the ability to hit this one pretty hard. Let's just sit back and wait and just see what it does. I'm now giving it 2 targets. And I'll move this one up slightly. I can now block this off with this unit, so we'll leave that one where that is. Get the quill happening in through this side. It's not great. Giving that another ability to come back in through there. Now the quill shot, there is a chance, there's no point in not doing this, so let's just go and do it. We've got a graze, and so again that was only a 30% chance of actually hitting it. The graze doesn't do much, but again that will be because we just got under, yeah, we needed a 70 to get a full hit, we got a 64. We want these to come through as well. Okay, we're thinking, okay, why is it only 30? If I press control, we can then sort of see what's going on here. And so we have a, we're obscured by this tent, so that you can see how it actually hits the tent. The dotted line actually hits the tent and then becomes like orange after that one. And so we're not getting a clean shot from that location. If I go back and try it from here, I've got a 70%. And I think I might do that actually, because that way we don't get the tent. So again, that one through there, usually you can fire over the top of these things, but in this case we can't. And so by pressing control, I can see I've got the stand together because I'm getting the extra bonus from the one we're standing next to. Negative 20% because it's long range, we're going to have that anyway, and negative 40 because of the obstacle. So let's get rid of the obstacle. So we'll just go and undo that one. In through here I've got 2 shots as well, so even this is even better. If I go to that location and then do a control, again, if I don't press control, I don't get to see it. But in this case, I've got 2 shots. I've got stand together, and it's just long range. So 70% chance, which, again, if you add the 25 for the graze on top, I've got a 95% chance of doing at least some damage. So 70% chance of doing full damage and an extra 25 on top of that of doing half damage. So let's go and do this one straight away. Again, I've got the stand together anyway, so that's all okay. And we've got the full damage coming in through that side. Now this one here, another 30%, which I'll take. I don't really need the warding because everything they do is just physical. Even this is a physical steel blast attack. This is just physical attacks. There's nothing special about their attacks. So the warding is not going to, I don't need the resistance. But unfortunately we're still going through. Again, I can press control and see everything that's actually impacting this particular one. So now there's a chance we can actually inflict sunder defense here, which will then sort of reduce its defense. And it resisted that last defense through that side. We'll just move this one across. Not that it matters that much. Okay, so we've now sort of done that one. Now, Alfred can't do anything else at this point in time. Let's. We do actually have the spells. We've only got that one Call to Glory spell, which will then gain morale and become strengthened, but let's not worry about it. Just close that one off and end our turn. Again, I'm playing extremely defensively here. It's going to come through and try to do an attack. 11 physical damage, and it went into the stink areas. And it's gone after my ranged unit, one of my ranged units. So this one is now distracted. If we go and have a look and see how it's now dropped to 5 with what it tried to then go and do. And so it's bleeding because it actually hit the... actually, I don't know who did the bleeding, whether we did that earlier or not, but it is distracted. So this is now all attacks targeting this unit are flanking attacks. This one really can't sort of protect itself all that well. We're going to do extra damage against it. The shield bash, did it use that? No, it didn't use the shield bash. I thought it might have, but it didn't actually because it knows it has to get some kills in. So what we can do is, at the moment, it's got like a... it's got protections against the front, but we can actually go and do a big attack against it. So we can go back and do a charge. So if we go and do this one here, we end up with a massive flanking attack where we cancel the retaliation. So we'll go and do that. Bang, gone. So this one now has hit it pretty hard. And if we have a look at him again, it's still got the 5 in through there. In fact, I should have shown this one. The 5 is there because he does have shield defense natively anyway. So he's got that plus the base 2. So 5 is pretty much what he would normally get. This one I can't actually attack with this one because it's because we can't use the quills if we're inside an enemy zone of control, which is what we are. But there's no retaliation anymore from this unit, so I can actually now move away freely because of that attack from Alfred, which means I can move this one back. Otherwise there'd be a retaliation strike. So we can now kill this one off. That one's gone. And then we've got these attacks in through this other side. Now this one here, we've got no line of sight, so this is not great. We do actually have a good attack through there. It's only 30. Again, if we have a look, we've got obscured by another obstacle. So what obstacle is obscuring that? Doesn't look like anything is. Normally it would show you. It surely can't be the tent. Let's move up. Again, these, if I go to there, it's 50 there, 50 all the way through there. So let's just take it as a 50. Just move this one across. And we'll see if it gets sundered defense. Yep, sundered defense has gone down, but it has bolstered its resistance. So what's actually happened with that is we've actually gone, if with its defense, it would normally have +1 because it's a tier 2 unit, but it's now reduced it because of that magical attack that we did. But on the other side, when it does get attacked, it then has bolstered resistance itself. And so it actually gets extra ones of those. So its magical resistance has gone up, but its physical resistance has gone down. Now, I want to still get 2 shots in through there. That's only a +50. Let's just move this one up. And I know that with these, I can actually, it's going to have 2 action points there. I can move 2, and then I still have 2 shots. If I move 3, I only have one action point. So I can still move down. By the way, with this one here, if I move to that location, quite often we'll then be aiming for our own guy. So I'll still keep on coming back in a little bit closer. Put the stand together. We just do the 2 shots. 50%, that's a full, and a graze. Then we'll just do an attack in through this side. These units can't use their support to actually attack us with melee. They have to move away. And so this one's now sort of pinned into position. And so we just get free shots until it can actually move off. And 2 shots in there, that's fine. So it will move away and do another attack after this. Everyone else has now moved. Let's just end our turn. But you can see that the AI plays, in fact, what it's done there is it knows that if it moves off, the retaliation strike against it will actually be too much. So let's just finish this one off now. There's no retaliation back with these sorts of support units. So these are easy fights, but you learn a lot from them just by really analysing everything. So there we go. So we've now claimed this area with the red symbol there, where it was going to end up sort of spawning things. We'll just close that one off. And so now we get rewards for these, and we've got a reward of extra production back in our capital, and Mail of the Razorback is actually a tier 3 unit, which gives us +1 defense. We get charge resistance, and we get a quill hide as well. And so this is the first of the actual objects essentially that we can now start to sort of put on our units. So we'll take the reward, and if we then go and right click on Alfred, and you can see there's an exclamation mark next to this particular slot, which is the one that we just picked up. Now I can either just go and pick this open and just see what we actually have with our equipment, and over the course of the game you'll get lots and lots of it, or you just basically see when you first open up what you can actually apply. And so in this case I'm just going to go across, Mail of the Razorback will then just go into that location, and so that then gets applied, and then we end up with Quill Hide. So we end up with doing +3 physical damage per attack coming up against us, and we've got charge resistance. So unaffected by the bonus effects of a charge attack, can be countered by using the heavy charge strike. So it's only sort of really, really powerful units that can now actually charge Alfred and not have a retaliation come back. So that's all good. We can see there that he's leveled up, but I'll do this a different way. So let's just go back and close, because the game will tell you your ruler has leveled up. So if you go and click on that one, it then opens up the same screen that we had there before, but now we end up with a different set back over this side. Let's just close that for a second. You can open that one up any time with this one in through here. And so these are the different abilities that you have. Now, we saw at the start that there were different things. If you choose a feudal lord, you can actually then choose a special ability for your lord for your city. And so there's things, for example, Lord of Crops. So this city of which this hero is governor gains 25 food income. Lord of Knowledge, you end up with 15 knowledge income. Lord of Magic, 15 mana. Lord of Production, 25 production. And Lord of War, which while army leader, after winning combat, units in the army gain +5 hit points and 25% movement points. So it allows you to sort of almost blitzkrieg through the map. It's not really I probably think the Lord of Crops will give you is a good one to start with because it does give you the growth, and the growth can be great. We can do things, for example, like in the warfare area, get some extra warfare things. Some of these require us to be a little bit further along in terms of what we actually have to do, like we're only level 2 now. We also then have battle mage stuff if we were a battle mage, and also support. Now these can be very, very good. This is the ones where you can actually, by choosing experienced leader, and I tend to go this way at the start, it allows all of my non-hero units to gain experience every turn, which means that they level up very, very quickly. But we'll choose Lord of Crops in this instance, and we'll confirm that particular one. You have to click on confirm. So we'll just do that. No more points left. And so he is now going to add more food to the capital. And we now just keep on moving along. Now again, if we want to see where that road goes, there's a road through there. There is another stack of another unit grouping through this other side. This is actually a more difficult battle, but it's this is a marauder army that we actually have in through this side on a special item. But let's just continue on. Now again, I've got extra, like these have now run out of movement, but Alfred hasn't. So Alfred can just continue on moving along. We can pick up that extra food. Why don't we just have a bit of a look along here as well? Like there's no real reason not to, unless we sort of come across wandering stacks. And we're not really, okay, that's actually finishing off in there at Lover's Spring. And so these are special areas as well that we can sort of then go and have a bit of a look at. So this is a Bronze Ancient Wonder. And so again, similar to the one that we, like those spawners that we just cleared out back in through this side, these are special locations. And again, bronze indicates that it's relatively easy, but I think it's still going to be probably a little bit much for us. So this is an Ancient Wonder. Ancient Wonders essentially are special locations that then provide other abilities. So this one here counts as a farm when it's inside one of our territories. We end up getting extra affinity. We haven't spoken about affinity. We're only getting +40 per turn. I'll talk about that in just a minute. We're getting extra food in through here, and unfortunately it does actually cost us, I wonder why it's -5 stability. That's interesting there. Yeah, that's interesting. The stability would go down. Actually, no, sorry, there we go. +2 city stability per fishery, farm, and forester in the city domain. That's actually very, very substantial. That would be very, very cool. For any units in domain are healed for 30 hit points at the end of each strategic turn. That's actually great. So it's 5 more than normal. Adds a spring fairy, summer fairy, autumn fairy, and winter fairy to the Rally of Lieges, which we haven't spoken about yet either. This is why this first map is really, really cool, because it introduces things a little bit at a time without really explaining them all that well. Okay, so we've got this structure can only be entered and fought in by one army led by a hero. So these are ones where we have to have a stack that is going to be powerful enough to take on whatever might be in here, and certainly save scum if you're wanting to sort of. These can be quite interesting to sort of try. Maybe we'll try this one and just sort of see how we do go. I've got no more movement down through here, but we've now sort of explored this one to a degree that we can't see anything else. What we might do is with Alfred, where is he in the grand scheme of things? He's actually in this little location in here. There's a fair way away from Florin, and I'm thinking of actually making an outpost at this location. That way we can pick up, there's gold there, there's mana right here as well anyway, which means we pick up the mana. I mean, I probably want to come back a little bit actually to do this one. I might swing back into this location and pick up that, and then we'll go back and do this one. You need to have some sort of hero unit to be able to then go and claim other provinces. But I wouldn't mind getting a second city. You can see through there we've got up to 3 cities that we can actually have, and at the moment we've only got 1. So you do want to be building cities relatively early, your first city anyway. Okay, we'll end our turn. So this is now turn 2 gone. But I hope that the progression has been slow enough to sort of at least gauge what's going on with the game. Now, Florin has just gone up another population, and so we're going to get information about Florin. If we go across, you can see Florin produced a vendor, and so we've got produce a vendor, set production at Florin, and Florin can now annex its first province. Now I can click any of these to then take me to what's happening at Florin, and it will then open up the city screen. And now we get to see again what we saw there before when it was all greyed back, but we now have the ability to sort of see what's going on. Now, when we were talking about this, you can see again, these are big, these are small. The game is telling us, hey, look at this. This is what you could possibly be building here. And it doesn't matter what you build out of farms or foresters or gold mines or just mines or quarries. So you've got different things in through here that you can actually go and build. But this is where going through, we now actually have to sort of try to figure out what we're going to now build in the actual city itself. So we want to use a booster. And the thing that we were looking at was to focus on getting the forester here. We get the extra growth coming from, we get 10 growth coming from the pasture, which is why it's suggesting this area. So we get 10 growth coming from there. And if we get a forester as well, we end up with another 2 food and 3 production coming from the forester. And so that's actually what the forester then provides us with. So this whole area would be 12 food and 3 production from this from this province improvement. It's immediate. As soon as we click on that, it becomes what we actually end up having. So we'll go and do that one. So we now actually have a forester inside Florin. So this is now, we've now extended it out because of the extra population through there. Now if we go back to the city again, we'll then sort of see that we've now got 2 population, and we've 2 more turns and we pick up another one. But when we go back in, start to sort of have a look to see what else we can do through here, we can just go and click on the build structure, and we can see there that 2 of these are now boosted. And when we hover over the storehouse, for example, it's telling us there that down the bottom there, the boost is coming from the forester. So by building that forester, we now can get this one much, much cheaper than what we could before. It was 70 before, and I think it was 4 turns. So we're getting a little bit faster, a little bit cheaper, and this can make a difference. So let's go and get the storehouse to get the extra food. So we'll go and click on that one through there. Now, another thing that I wasn't going to min-max things at all, but you may want to consider, if you do end up with something fairly cheap, there's going to be 3 turns to get this one. We can invest 174 and buy this one straight away. And sometimes this is worth doing just to move ahead a little bit of the game. And so I'm going to do this one. I'm going to hurry the production for 174. So we'll grab that one. We've still got 347 left over, and we can still build something else. The library is still boosted. It's only 42 in through there. So let's go and build this one as well. So we'll grab that one. This is now 3 turns for that one through there. We can't rush that one at this point in time, but it's, at least we then get a quick building that way. Now I can also do the same down in here for this unit. I can hurry the recruitment, get it 1 turn extra, but I'm in no real rush to build my army up because this drains money. So it's here we go. Sunny Bits are saying approaching 1 hour per turn. Slow up, Daz. I'm going too fast. I'm really trying to sort of show the game in very slow, logical steps. So I'm not going to apologise for going as slow as what I am. So anyway, this is something we could hurry up if we wanted to. I don't want. This is going to drain money. So I'm not going to rush getting these units at this stage. In fact, of all of the resources in the game, you tend to find that draft is the most useless of them all, basically. I mean, you do need it a little bit to sort of get the units, particularly if you start to fall behind a little bit, but there's other ways really to get the units that you require. So let's not worry about that one. So let's just leave that one where that actually is. So you don't have to have things being built all the time, but you do want to be trying to move your city structures along relatively quickly. So that's something, particularly with your capital city. So there we are. We can't build any more of the locations. We've now got our first forester in through this other side. To connect it back up to the Lava Spring is going to take way, way too long. So my best bet is to build another city, and I'm thinking I build a city in this location over in here. So let's go and I mean, it's one of those things I could actually just build it back out through this side. We've got another farm over this way. What else have we got over this way? Yeah, so back in this location, we do actually have a mana node, which is currently occupied by a unit, so we can actually clear that one out as well. He can still move. What we might do is we might clear this unit out. Yeah, there was a hidden unit in there, so we've got a hidden unit, just a scout unit that was actually in there. So that's actually got a an attack. Well, it's only 101. Let's just move Alfred back into the group. You can see that most of these can't move anymore, so let's just grab Alfred. We'll clear this one out straight away. It's a safe battle. I will just auto-combat this one because it's very, very easy. We did take a bit of damage, but you can see there these have also gone up a bit of a level as well. So we'll just close that one off. I won't bother replaying that one. And we've got ourselves a Whirlwind Blade, which still gives us the charge strike. So we've still got the same sort of charge strike that we had, but it disables the mount slot. So this probably isn't that great. It is a tier 2. We did pick up some mana as well. We'll open the hero screen straight up. So at the moment we've got the Lance, which is a tier 1 primary unit, does 24 damage. The Whirlwind Blade does 28 damage, so it does a lot more damage. It's got Whirlwind Strike, so it deals damage to all adjacent units. It doesn't say enemy units, but it should only be enemy units, I think. Actually, maybe not. Against, and again, it's still going to be a charge strike, but it won't have the ability of having the horse. So what I can do here is I can actually leave the horse in here, and if I remember, I can then just go across and change it over. So he's actually got this special weapon for when he goes into attacks. So, but we'll just stick with the Lance, go back down to the mount, put the horse back in, which allows him to just keep on moving quickly around the actual map itself. Just close that one off. So he's now back in this location, and we wanted to go and move into here to set up, what we wanted to build in this location back and through this side. Just go, yep, so that's the location we want to do this one. If I just click him again, build an outpost. There are haste berries in this location, but they're occupied, so we won't get the benefit of that one. Once we do that, I can then move him back into this location, but what we might do, because we've now got a few units that are injured, we want to clear that. We want to have them healed up before we go into the Lover's Spring. So we'll leave them where they are. This guy can just keep on picking up the mana. And we just might have a bit more of a scout around with this unit, so we'll use him almost for sort of scouting to see where he can go. This unit as well, we'll just move around the other side. This is another one of these bronze Ancient Wonders, which we can sort of then try to clear out. This one will give us the Storm Scale Serpent, which we attacked at the start, and a Plague Serpent as well. So we'll leave that one where that is. Now we have to use a hero to attack these. Oh, there's an underground passage, and there's another one of these. There's something else in there. We don't know what it is yet until we actually sort of expose it. Okay, we'll end our turn there. So we are now moving through a little bit faster. So when you get used to the game, you'll still start to just do things fairly instinctively. Back in through here, we've got new Empire development skill available. Okay, so now we can talk about the next part of the game, which is the affinity. Back in through this side, the Empire development. So when I click on this, it's going to open up this up through here. So if I just go and click, it opens up this whole screen, which, by the way, when you first look at it, it can be a bit hard to sort of figure it out. Use your scroll wheel and go in so you can sort of see what's going on. I didn't know about this actually for weeks. And then I accidentally found it, and it made such a big difference. I think this is worth talking about a little bit. So what this is you've got 6 affinities plus a general affinity as well. The 6 affinities are, and you can see up through here, we've got 4 order, 1 nature, and 1 materium. Round the outside through here, there's our order, and you can see there we're getting income per turn of +4. So every turn, because we've got the 4 up through here, we end up going 4 along this line. So as we track along that particular line through there, we're getting 4 each turn. As we go past these points, we can then these unlock the abilities at this particular point in time. So this is like a almost like research without actually doing research, and it all comes down to what you've chosen up through this other side. You can hover over any of these and read what they actually do. So if we get to here, we get an extra Whispering Stone. Now what you'll find is that whatever the total number is will then be what you end up in the general slot. And so we're going +6 at the moment. We can almost get the basic Seafaring, but we can't quite get it just yet. Materium we've only just sort of, just starting off because we're only getting +1 through there, and same with Nature as well. And so it's going to take us a long time. So turns until available, 7 turns with this one through here. But just have a read through the ones, particularly as they become exposed. So this is the only one we can actually action at this point in time. This one is Pacification. So destroying an infestation or conquering a free city grants a stack of 300 relations with all the other free cities for 10 turns. We just finished off the infestation. That would have been cool to have, like 2 turns ago, but too late for that one. If I had been looking at that one, I could have actually waited and then gone and done the infestation. So I don't think I'll worry about it. So don't feel that you have to click on every single one of them. We've got 120 points at the moment. There's a few that we will be wanting to get at some stage. We've already got the extra Whispering Stone from here, so we're not going to get that one when it gets to that point. You can get extra cities from here for 200, but there's other things that we may want to get. So by all means, have a bit of a look through and just sort of see if there's anything that you want. Also, you may find stuff in areas that you just don't have access to, and so it may dictate what you do later in the game. If you particularly wanted to go and get, for example, the tier 1 units costing 30% less upkeep can be really, really big. And so you may sort of think, okay, I really need to go and get some chaos to get that one there. And that's a really, really good one to get, by the way. So going for chaos, we may have an opportunity later on with the tomes or whatever to actually go and grab some chaos. It doesn't matter that even though it's the opposite of order, we can still actually have chaos as well. I mean, you look at what happens in society, you do actually have combinations of these things, so you just don't worry about it. So Aries saying, can you adjust your affinities and how much you gain per affinity? Yes, you do that through the tomes. And so when we have a look at our affinities in through here, we've got 4, 1, and 1, and then 6 is the total for the general. Down through here are the tomes that we actually have available to us at this point in time. If we go and click on those, what we end up having is we've got a feudal tome down the bottom through here, which is giving us some of the feudal spells that we actually can then go and get. We've got the general research one, which gives us the stuff for the scout units. Everyone gets those. If you choose feudal, you get this one. If you choose this one, everyone gets the general. And then we have the Tome of Faith. And the Tome of Faith has given us +2 in order. So we've actually got the order affinity has actually got the +2 coming from there. Without that tome there, this would be a +2. So it would be +1, +1, +2. And these all come, the other ones, the Materium, the Nature, and the other two from order in through here, come from our initial choices for the actual faction that we chose. So when you build a faction, you actually build those first 4 affinities from those choices that you actually then go and make. So if we had, for example, chosen, I think feudal starts off with 1 or 2 of the order affinities. If we chose to go dark, like as in dark elves or something like that with dark magic, we'd be choosing a couple of shadow affinities, and so we'd be ending up going up this way. If we chose to go more cannibalistic or raider type things, we'd be going more chaos, and so we'd be ending up down this way. And if we chose more magical, we'd be ending up going in this astral affinity and heading up along this particular line. But with choosing feudal and then the other ones that we end up getting, end up with these and through this other side. So Aries is saying, so you can find them, the tomes in the game? Yes. So to find the tomes, all you do is you basically just go back. There's a few different ways you can do this. I mean, one way, when you are looking, this will then just show you what you've actually got. So when you're back in the affinities, you can then hover over to see exactly what these actually then go and do. So that's what you have currently unlocked. If you then go across to your Faithful Whispers, it's not called Faithful Whispers, this is your research. So we've got one more turn for the research, but I can click on this at any time, and so we're still just doing this one through here, but we can then look at the tome library, and if you go and click on that one, and then click on the first one on the end there, you can then sort them by their areas. And so, for example, you can see through here, if we end up with the Tome of Warding, for example, this is going to give us +2 astral affinity. So we get another +2 whenever we get a new tome. And so for every 5, I think every 4 or 5 that we research, actually it's every 4 that we research, we then end up, of spells, we end up with a new tome we then open up. So the more of the knowledge that we get, the faster we go through the tomes, and that also then means more power as well. And so you can have a look at all of these. You need to have 2 tier 1 tomes before you can go to a tier 2, and then you need 2 tier 2s before you can go to a tier 3, etc., etc. Now, when you go, you can see when I hover over this one through here. Let's just go to the ones that we've sort of been focusing on a little bit. You can see that a lot of these have got locks on them. If we go down to the these are nature tomes. Where's the order tomes? This is the one that we've got. You can see the tick on Tome of Faith. And so this is a tier 1 tome. Anything that's tier 1 is going to be showing up basically unlocked. We can unlock this one like as soon as we can get the next tome. I can choose any of these, whatever one I want, any of the tier 1s. And so what it'll show is just the ones that are available to us in here. Sort of. Now this is actually one of those things that you're probably never going to do it. This is one of those little min-max sort of secrets that you can do in the game, but I wouldn't suggest that you do it until you really get used to it. So when you go through, you can see when I hover over these that are locked, it says this one we need. It's got one. We've got 1 of 2 tier 1 tomes unlocked before we can get the tier 2 tomes. So in that one there, we're sort of thinking, okay, look, Tome of the Beacon, Tome of the Inquisition, like these are both tier 2s. We require those. Tier 3 requires 2 tier 2 tomes unlocked. So we need to go and select before we can get the tier 3. Then it gets tricky. After that, we've got tier 4, and tier 4 requires 2 of the tier 3 tomes unlocked and 6 of whichever affinity this one's relating to. So at the moment we've got 4. By the time we could actually choose this one, we'd need to have another 2 essentially, which is fairly easy to get. But then when we get to tier 5, which is the last, there's only one of these in each area. This one requires 8 affinity of whatever one that you're actually in, and you need 2 tier 4 tomes in through there. And so you can only have 1 tier 5 tome. At any time in the game, particularly when you're getting up like around the tier 3s and tier 4 tomes, you may decide, like, let's just say, for example, that we choose tier 2, like 2 of the order tomes, and then we think, oh God, I really, really wish that I had have got the Tome of the Horde, because you're thinking I really wanted this Spawnkin one through here to get this transformation to do extra damage. So as an example, as a bit of an example, this is a Chaos Affinity Tome, but it's tier 1. Now, if we've already used up all of our 2 tier 1 tomes, it doesn't mean you can't go backwards. And all you do is so this is like if you are sort of playing the game, and you're up around the tier 3 tomes, but you really want a tier 1 tome for whatever reason. I mean, these are pretty easy to go and research fairly quickly. You can just go, because it'll look a little bit, actually won't look a lot, actually, no, we're still a fair way off getting the next tome. But when it comes up with your tome choices, it will tend to only show you what's available to you. But you can go and open the tome library and then go and choose something else from here and research that. So you can go backwards, but the game doesn't tell you can do that. So you can still manufacture what you want at any time, going backwards through the tomes that you do have available to you, particularly in the first three tiers. Anyway, that's the tomes. We'll just hide those. But it's a very cool system. So it opens up different abilities, different buildings, different spells, things like that, and it really does shape the game amazingly well. So we'll just go across. Florin can now annex another sector, and so again we can sort of see that when we hover back, these are all small. It's sort of saying, hey, these aren't really worth that much, but hey, look at this, you've got these 2 over here. So again, if we're going to be min-maxing, we can then sort of think I can build in both these locations. I can build a farm, a quarry, or a mine. Now my gold is okay, it's not fantastic. The mana is not all that great. If I go across into the build structures in through this side and just hover over things we may want to go and get. So now if I hover over this one here, you can see the boost to this one is to have 5 population. We're on 3. So let's not worry about getting the castle. The stonemason requires 2 farms. We're not going to get 2 farms that way, I don't think. The market requires 2 farms as well. Well, maybe 2 farms wouldn't be a bad idea with that one. The clergy commons back through here requires 1 quarry, and that will give me mana and gold. The granary in through here requires 2 foresters. We've already got 1 forester. We can't build a forester in through there. The blacksmith, which is only going to give me draft, and as I said, draft is your most useless resource in reality. This one here requires 2 quarries. I'm not going to worry about that one. But then this one here for knowledge would be a good one for us as well. This one requires a quarry and a forester. So we can see there it would be good for us to get a quarry in for that one through there. That one there also would be beneficial with a quarry as well. So we can boost both of these by just grabbing a quarry at one of these locations. But getting the extra gold would also be useful. So I've got 10 gold there. So this one here will give me 10 gold. If I hover over the quarry there, so build a quarry, I'm going to get 5 production and 12 gold. And so I'm getting the, I've got a great builder's ability, which is giving me +2 gold in through there. If I went this way here with the mine, I'd get +15. So I'm actually getting better bang for buck, essentially. I'm getting like 2 extra resources there by going with the quarry anyway. So let's just go and do that one. So we'll grab the quarry. And so that then opens up, ultimately, when we go and build the next thing, these are now boosted because of what we've got built. I hope that makes sense. That like you don't have to min-max that much. I wouldn't be overthinking that, particularly with your first games, but this is sort of how you can then start to expand and extend the game, is by just looking at those little things. So that's sort of where that one sits. Oh, that one there is actually, we didn't see this before. This is actually this is a small cage with some sort of animal in it as well. So I'm going to go and grab that one. I'm just going to go and move my scout across. This is the underground. I did want to, actually, I might have a look down this way to start with and just see what we've actually got. Let's just move into the desert. Are we seeing anything? Not seeing anything there just yet. A brigand camp down there as well. So similar to what we had seen before. So we won't worry too much about that one. So the desert is desolate. It's not going to be all that great for us. There's some treasure back over that side. So an evil presence lingers in the land. You're just going to show us the brigand. This is an infestation spawner. Eventually this will then grow and spawn. Again, it looks like it's a fair way off. Yeah, 9+ turns. It's in deep sleep mode at the moment. I'm going to move this one down further and just keep it. There's another underground passage down this way. And there's another spawner there as well. So we'll have a look and see what that actually is. We do have to be a bit careful later on when the things have sort of started to spawn. In easy mode it takes a long time, but in the more difficult modes it doesn't. Let's use this one for scouting as well at this point in time. Just go and open up and see what we can find around our location. Okay, so this is going to be building in one more turn. These are still a little bit too badly damaged. Now we do actually have the gold mine through there as well. This is a safe battle, but I want to save up and wait till I go back for this one. I'm just going to move back into this location and we'll just sit back in here until these heal up. We'll end our turn. There we go. We now have an outpost. We can now sort of see much further. Oh, there we go. There's the other location that I was looking for. So I'm going to go across. I'm going to move this one over. Another infestation back over through here as well. Let's just move here. We've got treasure there which we can pick up. And we'll come back across this other side. Now this one here is still injured. So what I can do here is I can move Alfred out. I might just do this. There we go. So we've now come across meeting the fierce Gardheim. So Chieftain Fierce Stagheart of the free city of Gardheim greets you with flashing eyes. And so you can see through this side, these are gnarled frostlings. These again are not of our group. And so these are a barbarian group, but they're still. So give one of our Whispering Stones to start negotiations. Now, we don't have any more Whispering Stones left because we used it on our own city. It's much, much more valuable for us to use it on a free city than on our own city. So we're going to go back across. When we talk to him, we don't actually have a Whispering Stone to do. The allegiance you can see through there is 0. there's just nothing's going to happen until we can give him a Whispering Stone. So this is a smaller city than what we'd seen with the other one, but we do want it, and it's pretty close, unfortunately, to this city over through here, which we will be making into a city. So we'll actually make that into a city basically now, but we'll just go across. What we'll do is, it's a shame actually, because I did want to expand out into this area. I won't attack the city or do anything like that, but that will then make us more evil, which we don't want to be doing in this particular playthrough. But other playthroughs, you may decide to attack it and then raise it if it's sort of in your way. They can be useful ultimately, but what we'll do is we'll just go back into here. You can see there we need 200, and we're up to 160, so one more turn and we can then make this on into a city. We can actually make palisade walls. Now this will still give us wooden walls once we can build the city. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to go and build palisade walls there for 3 turns, and then ultimately that will then give me what I need to then go and build the city. So we'll do that one. We'll just spend a bit of money on that one. So Gardheim, let's go back into our city. Open up this one, and we're going to withdraw the Whispering Stone from in here. So at the moment, we're getting extra. It was only still stable, so it's not going to make that much difference, but we'll withdraw the Whispering Stone from our city, and we'll move it across now and talk to Gardheim and give them the Whispering Stone. So the Pact of Cooperation will now come in 6 turns, so this will then start to head towards becoming a vassal of ours. So we'll just move that one across. This group in through here is still not ready, so we'll just move him back into that particular group. We're inside our borders, which means we're going to heal fast, and then we can go after Lava Spring. Spells are ready to cast. So now we have Faithful Whispers, which is a sustained city spell, so allegiance with the target free city increases 30% faster. The upkeep is 4 per turn, which is a bit expensive. I don't tend to do these, but we do have plus 20. I might just do it. You can see we've got 30 casting points. This is 45 to go and do this one. I could also cast the friendly spell, but I'm not going to do that either. Let's just get Faithful Whispers, and we'll cast that one just for the sake of the exercise. Again, this first game, when you are sort of getting used to the game, just experiment with things. You can see through there, we don't actually have abilities to get the haste berries. Now, when we do annex this one, we're going to get plus 20 draft, which is not that great. Okay, and it says unique global effects. So founding, migrating, or absorbing cities takes -2 turns. Actually, that wouldn't be bad. Maybe we'll do that one first. So let's go and move this group across, so we can then do the attack next turn. In fact, I could actually attack it this turn. I've only got really the one unit that we have to worry about. We've got 2 of these carrion birds, which are tier 2, and we have a gremlin, which is a tier 2 skirmisher unit. So these are quite tricky, these gremlins. But if we sort of hover over that one, at this stage it's a safe battle. It's more difficult than the other battles that we've done, but it's still safe. We've got Faithful Whispers, which we're now just going to be doing. We'll select new research. And so we can get a chaplain, which is like a support unit. It's going to give us a spirit blast, healing prayers and blesses. Staves of Mending, this is a unit enchantment. So this will be good for support units. It will give them sort of better abilities to heal. But let's go and get the chaplain first. So we'll go and grab that unit. This unit here, I'm just going to keep moving up and just looking for different things around the map. Let's go back up this way. Now again, playing on easy mode, it really doesn't matter too much about these locations just yet, but let's go underground, have a bit of a look. There's a ritual circle. This is an undead sort of magical area, which we'll have to clear out as well at some point. Just have a bit of a look underground. And we can see there's like a cartographer's tent, so we'll go and grab this one in through there. Just go and end the turn again. I meant to do that attack. Okay, we'll do it this turn. So I'll just go this way. This will then expose something somewhere. So we've found a silver location here. Now, we've travelled slowly underground. I won't worry too much about what's happening under here. I think we'll just come back out again. Okay, spell ready, Faithful Whispers. I'm just going to go above ground. If I press the page up or page down, it will then cycle. Oops, there we go. So I'll just press page down and we just come back up here again. So I'm going to go and I've got Faithful Whispers, which is ready. I want to cast it on that Insulter, which is that one there. So I'm going to go and do this one in through this other side. So allegiance with the target free city increases 30% faster. This is a bigger city. We're going to get better income from it. So let's launch this. So even though it's sort of like dark elves and stuff like that, which is nothing like what we are, we're going to start to sort of try to push it in our direction. Okay, so now we can get an extra one of these, but I want to save up my Imperium to build the city. So I'm not going to spend the Imperium just yet. Just close that. Florin produced the library, and now we can go up and yet another one. So again, when we have a look at what's largest, where does it want us to go? It doesn't really matter. Like, it's not really pushing one way or another, but it is suggesting that we have a look over through here. So 2 quarries is going to be good for us. Quarries are going to give us that little bit of extra because of the great builders that we actually have from our faction. So we'll grab a quarry here as well, and that's going to give us more boosts along as well. So this is actually sort of heading into a fairly nice direction for us. Set production. Actually, so we've now finished off the production through this side. We haven't been building another unit. I might build another unit as well. Let's just go back across. And so we now have the Arcane Institute, which will give us better knowledge. So we're going to be able to move through the tomes a bit faster. The clergy will give us mana. Now, mana is not critical, but it will be at some point. And we've got one more population before we can then get the castle boosted. So let's just go to the Arcane Institute. And again, 290, it's a bit expensive with only 390 gold, so I won't actually rush that one. But I might grab myself yet another archer, I think. So we'll just go and grab those. So we want to go and clean out this one. Everyone's now healed up because of this outpost. We'll clear this one out so we can get the haste berries, because that will then, what the haste berries will do underneath here, if I just go and click on those, these are haste berries, magic material, and so unique global effects. So founding, migrating and absorbing cities takes -2 turns, which means that we can then get the city here extra fast, and that's going to be worth a bit to us. So let's just go this way, and we'll just right click on this one, and again I can just auto this one and just to see how we go. Again, by doing that one and just watching what actually happens, we can sort of learn a lot just with what's going on, or we can just do manual combat, but just get in the habit of resetting. Like, let's do this one as a manual combat again. Sorry, I'm missing a lot of the comments here, guys. I will try to go back and read them through. I'm just focusing very heavily on trying to impart information, because this video will be around for a little while, I would guess. So I hope that you're not taking offence with me not communicating as much as what I would normally like to. So what have we got in through here? Now we've got like a completely different sort of map. This is actually, these maps don't change much, but these are the hasteberries that we now sort of see. We're actually in a hasteberry location. Always, like, you'll fairly quickly get a feel for your group, and we've already done that now. We've got a good feel for, our archers are valuable if we can get clear shots at everything. We have these guys as well, but these have got other abilities we haven't had a good look at yet. So if we go and have a look at these guys through here, because they're actually polearm units, they do plus 40% damage against cavalry and plus 40% damage against large targets. And so if we can find either cavalry units or large target units, we're going to do extra damage. Now I forgot to actually I meant to move him across and give him his other weapon. I wanted to get the other weapon in here rather than the lance, but let's just leave the lance. If we go and click on these, sometimes the birds, this one doesn't look like an actual, like a difficult sort of bird. The carrion bird in through here, God, it's a beautiful game. I absolutely love it. What have we got in through this side? So, natural speed. Defending units have hasten, swift, and slippery until the end of combat. And so this is from the Marauder Guard that this one actually has. So this has got a special ability. Now this is actually just a flying unit, fighter unit. It's not a large unit. It would show up in here if it was a large actual unit. It does have the melee strike, 3 of them for each, one per action point. This guy here is very tricky, the Gremlin. So the Gremlin comes in with its melee strike, it does a fire damage as well. It's got Behind You, which is actually a special ability that it can then go and do. This is at range 4. Does 10 physical and 10 fire damage, and can run and then use this. This is like a one action ability. So target sustains damage and turns 180 degrees. And so what actually happens with this, it can change our units around 180 and give flanking attacks to anyone else in their army. So we have to be careful of this guy because he can completely change the complexion of our front line. But if we're in protection mode, we should be okay. So we have to be very careful with this. And again, they've got the hastened, swift, and slippery, which you can sort of see down through here as well, that they actually have available to them with this particular attack with the haste berries. So let's go and plan what we're going to do. So this guy here can actually come down to he can run to this location. He's got one action point. He can then, and actually here's another little tip as well. When you're trying to figure out what units like this can go and do, and they can move a long range here, but it's hard to then figure out, okay, if he can move to there, what can he hit with this turnaround attack? So if we go Control G, we then end up with a grid. And so when I click on him again, we know that the other ability that he's got, this Behind You ability, has got like it's got a 90% chance of actually hitting, and it's got a taking into account whether it's behind things or anything else like that, and it's got a range of 4. So from that location where he can run to, it's range of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Already both of these units are inside its range if it wanted to use it, but I don't think it will. So I think they'll again be fairly circumspect, although it doesn't have, none of them have got any buffs. So none of these have got different abilities. This one's got Carrion Feed, so consumes target corpse and heals 20 temporary hit points. So if they get damaged and there's dead units around, they can then actually heal themselves, and it doesn't actually, it leaves them with one action point left over once they do that. So we're going to move up with our units, and I think I'm going to, it's one thing you can't really tell with the game is whether, I don't think that's a cliff. I think we can sort of move through there. I think we'll use Alfred through the middle of that area. We'll move both of these up just to sort of support each other a little bit. And actually I will leave Alfred with them as well. I'll just leave Alfred off to the side. Keep that one there. I'll get the warding and through here because there's going to be fire damage coming, and actually I'll move Alfred up. I'll move that one up in there as well. So we don't want to go too far in. Like we can sort of see that with this one here, this unit can attack us if it wants to, but it's not going to do much damage on its own. And similarly with these guys as well, they can come through and do damage to our front line, but they can't do anything else. If there were stronger units in through here, I wouldn't go as far out in front. I'd be sort of staying further back. So let's just end our turn in here. I think that they'll stay back as well, actually. Yep, so they've come back enough for us to do an attack. They want us to attack first so that they can then use the skirmisher. So I can do big damage there. I can smash this one as well. You can see there the retaliation is meaningful with what it actually does do. Let's go across. Let's use Alfred over this way. And we'll just sort of lock in with these others. So we will actually go on the attack. Again, often it's not a good idea to go on the attack. See how they're just staying just outside the range of my unit. So I'll be needing to sort of come forward and attack with these. Now, this one can move anywhere because it's only one action, so I can actually move this one up. Yeah, I can actually still hit this one pretty hard. I can cancel the retaliation there. Let's go and do that one because this one has actually got, at this point in time, it's got 4 defense. And so by removing that, it's going to go down to 2. So let's just go and do that one. So it cancels the retaliation, cancels its actual strike. So now when we attack it, it's not going to. We're going to do much more damage. 13 there, 16 there because of removing those extra 2. So it's now down to just 2 defense. And this is the only unit that we've got that can actually then go and do that. So now I can move this one across I've still got 70 there. If I press control again, I can see I'm getting minus 20 because of long range. If I move to there, I get 90%. If I move to there, I get 90%. So I might as well just move to there. Flying units can get over the top, but let's just go and move back there and hit this one again. We've got 16 versus 13 versus 15. So this one here is down to 3. I mean, in one sense, it would be cool to get rid of that unit. I only have a single shot there. Which way should we go? I'll take the 90%. Actually, no, I will take that. I'll take this guy because that one will ultimately become a bit of a problem. Actually, that's also got displacement, so this actually works out a little bit better for us. Actually, ultimately, this guy has got displacement, which upon sustaining damage, this unit teleports to a random location within 2 hexes. Works once per turn. So these can be quite, as I say, quite tricky. But now we actually have the ability to smash him again. So this one as well has got a 1-action attack back in through there, so I can sort of move across. I've got 70 there because of long range. I've got 90 there. He's not going to be using displacement again, so I can just go and position this one now across to here, do another attack, a big attack with the magic, and it did resist against having the sundered resistance, sundered defense. Now this guy here, I can actually now move this. I can get 2 shots from there at 90%, and that probably would kill him off, I would guess. Yeah, that will kill that one. There we go. So we've killed off the tricky one. Let's go and move this one in. Now they may actually they're not going to eat the gremlin. Let's just go and hit this one here. And I've only got 1 shot, 1 action point here, so the retaliation is just not worth it. So I'm just going to lock in at this point, just go into defensive mode. So the reason I did that, and I think a lot of new players to Age of Wonders would not consider going into defensive mode, is just getting that extra 2 defense can make a bit of a difference. We've got 4 defense in through here, so 30, like a third of all the damage coming in is not going to affect this one. What it's forcing it to do though, it will actually attack this one through here. This one's only got 2, so only 20% of the damage is going to be mitigated here. So this unit will do some damage. There will be 1 retaliation, then this one will do some damage in through there as well. So this one's going to take a fair bit of a hit. I can, again, I've got Call to Glory. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just close that one off and we'll end our turn. So we get a retaliation there. And it's now going and going to hit us 3 times. And we no longer have any more retaliation, so this one will then hit here as well. Alright, now when we go, we've still got 90% in through this side, so we can actually sort of do another shot there. These are both now going to be on 2 because they didn't use their defense. Both of mine now get three shots because they've got the 3 action points. So all of mine can actually hit pretty hard, with the exception of this one here because we don't end up getting the extra charge from that one. This one's got 70% because we're probably going through. It's long range. Still 70% worth going for. Let's kill off this one here. Good. No difference really with if we move anywhere. Like I can go from 70 to 90. Let's kill this one off. Now we did remove its defense, so its defense has now been removed a bit further. If we have a bit of a look at this one through this side, so it's under defense of 1. We've got there for 3 turns, so it's gone from 2 to 1. So instead of 20%, it's now only got 10% damage that it's actually protecting itself from. So and then we've got the quill as well, so we've got 90% through there. In fact, we'll probably end up killing this one off. The retaliation, there was a question before about whether what happens when they start to lose members of their of the group. So their retaliation is much lower. Like if we have a look at this one here, for example, retaliation is 6 against that one. It's 3 against that one because this one's got 2 units left. This one's got 1 unit left. So let's go and kill this one off with this unit. So reducing the numbers with your ranged units can actually have a good ability. And we can then do a bit more damage here. So again, if we have a look, that will get it close down to a third. And it's now lost another unit. So this one now is going to be much, much easier in terms of its retaliation. I might as well use it against, in fact, we can just do this one here and kill it off. So again, a fairly simple attack. And that then gives us the haste berries. So if we just go and close that one. So the battle is now won. Just go back across, and we do want to still have this guy heal up before we go and do the other big attack. And we can see haste berries have now been acquired. This is probably, well, this is one of the other things that we can now sort of have a bit of a look at. We've got all sorts of different things up through here. One thing we haven't had a look at, though, is the magical materials. And so the haste berries was the first of the magical materials that we've really come across and we've got access to. They come in sets, so if we go and click on these, in fact, if we go and click on this and go to haste berries acquired, it will then open up this tab. And you've got like 3 different areas. You've got ores, liquids, and plants. The haste berries are one of the plants, and so with the haste berries, and look at whether you have 2, 3, or 4, whatever you might have, you only get the 1 benefit, so you only need 1. And so this one through this side is just sort of showing that, again, founding, migrating, and absorbing cities takes -2 turns, which is quite useful. So that's what the haste berries are going to give us. There's also things like silver tongue fruit, which we haven't come across yet. This will give whispering stones, give us better allegiance for the other cities. Rainbow clover, +100 relations with free cities and rulers. So this one is much more for diplomacy. If we end up with one or more of each of all of these, we then end up with the collection effects, which is the imperial essence, and gives us +10 Imperium. So we end up with more Imperium to spend up through here. So that's sort of how that one does work. Now in through this side, yeah, we're just going to have to wait now for this one to come through. It's still building it itself. We'll just leave that one there. Ruler is leveled up. Okay, so we're now going up to level 3. By the way, when you go to 5, 10, 15, 20, you get like special abilities. Now I'm not going to have time to show that in this particular run. I might come back tomorrow actually and just continue on as a bigger part 2. Because then we can start to expand it a little bit more than what we've sort of been doing. But we've covered a lot of stuff in this episode, even though we've only done like a handful of turns. Now, with him, he is in the first time we took the Lord of Crops for him, and we can go to the very bottom. It'll then show us what we've actually got for him. We've got Fighting 1 and Lord of Crops is what we actually end up with him. You can go with support, battle magic, or with warfare. Now usually if you're using like a warfare related character, you'll go warfare related stuff, but it is quite useful to get some of these support. The experienced leader getting +2 experience per turn will actually very quickly ramp up the levels of the stack that are with him. There's other things, for example, like Restore if you're wanting to sort of help with the healing, Undying Loyalty back and through this side, so target friendly unit gains Steadfast for 1 turn. It's not great. It doesn't cost anything at all to actually perform that one, but there's other things as well, like Defensive Training will give everyone in your stack a +1 defense and resistance. Inspiring Leader, you get less unit upkeep, so it costs less gold and mana. But we'll go with Experienced Leader. I do like this one as an early one to get. So we'll close that one off. Later on in the game, it's not as critical, but that's one thing you have in through there. By the way, just as another little thing with this, if we go back to the levels, you'll see you've got reset skills, and with leaders or heroes or anything at all, like whether it be your actual main guy, you get 1 free one of these to do it. So if you decide halfway through the game that you really want a different skill set for somebody, you've got a free for every single one of the, like each character has got 1 free lot of reset skills. After you do it the first time, every single skill that you then change will then, after that point, will start to cost you Imperium. So just be aware of that. You've got one free go. So by all means, get things like that Experienced Leader. So grab that one initially, but at a point you won't need it. And so you may find, look, I really want to change what we've got for the unit, and you can then just do a free reset. So that's actually something you can actually do as well, but only once per unit. So all right, now we've got that one coming through. I'm just going to leave that one inside the border so we get the extra sort of health coming back through that side. So let's just leave that one where that is. And now we've got a now we wanted to go back up and grab that one as well, but we wanted to do a few other little things in through this side. Now there's another one of the flowers. This is actually the silver tongue fruit. And let's go across into, oh hang on, I meant to grab the other area. This is now showing another ritual circle. I meant to grab this item over this other side. So evil presence, this is just going to show us about the infestation spawner. This is a silver, this is a more difficult one for us. And so if we go and click on that one twice, deep sleep infestation will become active in 9+ turns. So we've still got a bit of time with that one through there as well. But you can sort of see that we haven't even come across any of the other players yet, but it's still quite engaging, even just interacting with the actual environment itself. There's a lot to do in the game, you know, there's an awful lot to do, so just have fun with it really. I do have to get going actually, so I'm going to I might call it quits here, and then tomorrow we'll come through and actually do more of the like Lava Spring and things like this. We can start to sort of fine-tune things a bit. But to be honest, if it's your first game, just to finish off this sort of session, I would actually resign at this point, actually, and just you've learnt the basics by enough to sort of be able to at least understand how the game functions. And at this point, I would actually resign. I won't do it just in case we do finish off this one tomorrow, but actually maybe we should. I don't know. It's sort of one of these things. You get sort of engaged with it really, and you sort of think, I might just do a little bit more. But really, you don't have to do much in this first map to just get a feel for what's going on. And at that point, actually, I think we will do one more session, and then I'll resign after that. But I tend to find I play maybe 10 turns initially on this particular map, just get a feel for what's going on. And then if we I'll just save this one as well. So just do a Control-S as a quick save. If I then press Escape, I can then surrender. If I surrender, I basically then finish off the game. And at that point, I then get points for myself, which then goes into what's called the Pantheon. But we'll do that tomorrow. You can sort of see there Pantheon points. It's got 0 there at the moment. So I've got zero really at this point in time of the points. So it will tell me if I do resign the Pantheon points I get. And these are unlocks for the game. But don't play for too long before you surrender in that first map. I'll just exit out of this one. Exit to menu, because once you play that first map, you really want to then come through and just keep on using Alfred it's a good faction to just get used to doing things. So that was the beginner scenario that we're playing at the moment, but then start to play the story realm, and this will introduce other concepts as well, and it will be more of a much more of a tutorial than the first one. The first one is you're on your own, just sort of muddling around, trying to sort of figure out what goes on. But the story realm will then start to push a story, but also what you can actually look forward to in the game and what you can do. It will actually guide you quite well. Much more diplomatic through that one as well. Anyway, guys, I do have to leave it here. So Analogical is saying what time tomorrow? Maybe around about the same time, same start time. So 3 hours before, 21 hours from now. Somewhere around that time, I would guess. So my 2 cents are saying, how are archers? I've just read a few of the comments in through here. I'll go backwards up through the list. So how are archers? They're incredibly good actually in the game, I've got to say. I really like the balance of the way that the archery. I didn't like the hit factors in Planetfall, but it's much better in Age of Wonders 4. It's much more intuitive than Planetfall was. They learned a lot from Planetfall, and they really did find a way of balancing a lot of the concepts of Planetfall in very meaningful ways. So I'll just go. Actually, I won't go backwards. I'll go back up to. I've missed a lot of comments here, guys. I'll just sort of go a little way up, and I won't go too far up. Actually, I didn't miss that much, I don't think. Okay, so Paul is saying shaping up as a great year for strategy gaming. Yes, it is indeed. I'll just skip over the other things. Aries is saying to Paul, besides Age of Wonders 4, what other games are you looking forward to this year? And Paul's then sort of saying, well, so far in 2023, new DLC for Crusader Kings 3, new DLC for Vic 3 coming. That's immediate. Falling Frontiers coming up. Yeah, that's going to be great. And you've also got like Xenonauts 2. There's all sorts of games coming up very, very soon, actually. Pickle Father Noogle saying, hi back. So approaching 1 hour per turn. Yeah, slow up there. So I did that one before. Love your coverage of this game, says Los Manzi, and saying, what is the hotkey for taking a move back in battles? Now, I didn't show that. I might have to do that tomorrow, actually. I should actually show how to save scum properly in battles, because there's different ways you can do it. And I think it's worth actually covering that, because taking one turn back in a battle after you've already done combat is not easy. But there are ways you can actually look at it. So maybe we'll do that in some depth tomorrow, I think. But I love these questions, actually, because this will actually, it's quite often the questions that people ask are the questions that everyone's sort of thinking. Like, and it's to be able to answer those questions where it becomes instinctive very quickly, but initially it doesn't. So, but I will go through those sorts of things if I remember. The cities are so beautiful. It's good to stop and look at the amazing art they made, says Availability. Yes, I agree with you 100%. So logical saying you're succeeding, Daz, that's good. And can you adjust your affinities? Actually, we did that one actually before, didn't we? So I've actually gone past that one through there. In fact, I've been pretty much caught up. So I think you guys stopped asking questions when I stopped answering them. So sorry about that one. But I've been having a lot of fun. I made a Spider Queen using the Spider Tome from the workshop. Yeah, I've seen it looks like there's some really, really good tome mods that have come through as well, which is really, really cool. The Night Clerk saying, just found you doing research on Shadow Empire. Your vid got me to finally get it, so thank you. It's a great game, Shadow Empire, and it's just improving all the time. Anyway, guys, we've caught up with the with where the chat was, I think, to a degree. I know I missed a lot earlier, guys, so my apologies for that one. But I will come back and do part 2 of this tomorrow. I think we'll keep on playing this particular map, but I would strongly suggest that you don't spend too much time in this beginner scenario. Don't worry about finishing it unless you're really into it. I mean, I'm having fun with this one, to be honest, at this point in time. But you're going to get lost in this beginner scenario more so than the story realm. Just use the beginner scenario to get used to the interface, to get used to some of the basic concepts like what we've covered today. But really the story realm is where you're going to start to learn about the deeper aspects of the game, and not in a difficult way either. Like, it will actually present them in a way that will make sense. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that session, and we'll be back again tomorrow for another multi-hour tutorial session. So have your questions ready, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching.